Super Naruto Rapid Systems Upgrading. Chapter 41. Provide false information. Danzo murmured unconsciously. One is the upper ninja, and dozens of ninjas. Is it? No, it's impossible. Danzang quickly dispelled the terrible conjecture in his heart. How could Li Jexuan, that kid, survive this situation, let alone kill all the Sans? Impossible. Poor Danzo, his face turned pale. Perceiving Danzo's strangeness, Sarutobi couldn't help raising his eyebrows. What? Danzo, do you know anything? No, I don't know anything. Danzang waved his hands again and again. He wished he had guessed wrong, otherwise his trouble is big. Konoha, B4 Zone Defense Zone. Night falls. Putting Medway and the seriously injured Hyuga Yoshizuki and Uchiha Yuya into the tent, Li Jexuan turned and walked out of the tent, just about to find Danzang to settle the ledger. Yamada Needle stopped in front of him. I'm sorry, I didn't participate in the battle. Yamada Junzun was a little guilty. As Hokage, he did not stand up for the first time, which made him very ashamed. It doesn't matter, you are a medical ninja, not participating in the battle is the right choice. Li Jexuan obviously understood Yamada Junzun's meaning incorrectly, but he has no intention of breaking this with Yamada Junzun now. He just wants to rush to the coalition camp and pull out the Danzo. But at this moment, a cold voice suddenly came out from under the cold moonlight. It's a sentimental team, but you should not deceive us with false information. Feng Ying's hat rose slowly from the edge of the desert, and a handsome man wearing a black tights and a white windbreaker walked out slowly. A generation of wind and shadow fierce fighting. Is this an offensive from Shinobu, or simply revenge? Li Jexuan involuntarily squinted his eyes, although in the generation of Feng Ying did not perform much in anime. It is possible to end the chaos of a country and create the existence of the ninja world, how can it not be a mediocre generation? But, false information. Li Jexuan curled his lips disdainfully. I'm Li Jexuan, disdained to do such a thing, but an idiot miscalculated my strength. Hearing this, Lidu pondered for a long time, and shook his head helplessly. But, the fact that you killed our dozens of Sans is so. From the moment Lido knew Li Jexuan, this battle was inevitable. He can't let Li Jexuan continue to grow. As for why he came, it is nothing more than an excuse. Cut, hit if you want, where is so much nonsense? Li Jexuan curled his lips in disdain, turned his head to Junzun Yamada and whispered, take Uncle Medway and them away. If it really fought, Li Jexuan might be able to run away. The three maimed Maitreya and the others can't escape now. I understand, I will take care of them. Yamada Junzun nodded affirmatively. He knew this was the right choice. With the strength that Li Jexuan just showed, even if he can't win, he can run away. Medway, who was just awake, looked at Li Jexuan bitterly, as if saying, my youth is still burning, I will not leave. Uncle Matt, don't look at me like that. Li Jexuan shrugged helplessly. Since you saved my life at that time, then I must guarantee your safety. Letting Yamada Needle take away Medway and the crowd, fierce fighting did not stop it. As Feng Ying, dealing with a 2-year-old child, he does not need to use these tricks. You are indeed a genius. When Yamada Junzun walked away, Lidu shook his head slightly with regret. It's a pity that you were born in Konoha, and the Kingdom of Wind cannot tolerate another Senjuku. Sensho Zuma, thank you for your praise, but... Li Jexuan grinned fiercely, and laughed wildly, I'm not going to stop here. Although Chinsho Zuma is strong, how exciting is the future? 6 ways with soil, 8 gates, 6 ways of Madara, 6 ways of Naruto, Samsara Sasuke, Kagaya. How can he be absent from such a magnificent future? Fairy Jiao mode open. The formation of the 8-door Dunjia open, rest and hurt do, and open all 5. The dark green chakra steam is raging, and the silver armored floodmen are like gods. What a powerful chakra! The first generation Feng Ying admired. Unfortunately, you can't escape the Sans cage after all. Escape. Li Jexuan grinned and sneered. In this state, even if Ludel Madara arrives, he will not run away without a fight. A little wind shadow. The night wind howls, the sand is raging. The villagers living on the border of the fire country have long been accustomed to the taste of this yellow sand. It's just that today's sandstorm has a little more smell. We can't stop it. Konoha's ninjas have never seen such a crazy sand shinobi, they are like crazy to attack Konoha's position. If it were not for the absence of the fierce fighting, they would have been defeated long ago. In Konoha's camp, Chinsho Janma, the blood-covered Sarutobi Hazumi and Danzo sat together. Why? Fighting has not appeared. For the entire battle, Sand Shinobu's wind shadow did not appear. Chinshojian raised his eyebrows in doubt. Even if he defended his position because of this, he still had a bad feeling. Sand Shinobu seems to be brewing some conspiracy secretly. Sarutobi Risen held the golden hoop and said abruptly, I don't know why. I always feel that this matter may be related to Li Jexuan. Li Jexuan. Chinshojian raised his eyebrows involuntarily. Could it be that the identity of the eldest brother has been exposed? But this is impossible. With Big Brother's transformation technique, if he were not willing, even I would not be able to see through. Hee, I see, that fierce fight is just busy with other things. Danzo smiled unnaturally. No matter what, he didn't want to mention Li Jexuan in front of the door. However, at this moment, an Onbi suddenly rushed in. Master Shuima, Needle Yamada from the B4 defense zone has something to report. Hearing this, Danzang was shocked. This group of chores is really not dead. No, I can't let them see Master Shujian. Otherwise, I'm done. Those guys escaped again. Danzo jumped up, his eyes widened and roared. This time they will definitely not pass the level easily. While talking, Danzo wanted to get out of the camp and secretly kill Yamada Needles. Danzo, sit down. The icy voice between the thousand hands made Danzo tremble slightly. Please come in, Yamada Needle. Please. As soon as Yamada Atsuhiro walked in, Danzo jumped up excitedly, and reached out to catch Yamada Atsuhiro. You guy, you dare to come here before you escape, I will kill you today. Just before he could make a move, Chinsho quickly grabbed Danzo's hand and said coldly, Danzo, Sarutobi, you can go out. Hearing this, Danzo immediately turned and walked out of the camp like an eggplant smashed by the cream. Even though he has the courage, he dare not defy the order of the second generation. But as soon as he walked out of the camp, Danzo gritted his teeth. It's really a bunch of trash sand forbearance, it didn't even kill Li Jexuan. He can no longer stay here now. When things are revealed, let alone the position of Hokage, he is almost bound to die. He wants to escape, but he just flees like this, he is really unwilling. That kid. Danzo gritted his teeth and rushed in a familiar direction. 5 minutes later, Chinshojian rushed out of the camp with a cold face, and issued an unbelievable command to the secret men, get the beast Danzang. Jealous of the talents, colluding with other villages, slaying geniuses, in the middle, is this the disciple you choose? The words of the first generation kept echoing in Chinshojian's ears, like loud slaps, kept on his face. Li Jexuan, who he had always looked down on, used his ingenuity to kill dozens of enemy Zongren, and with his strength, he rescued his teammates from the hands of a dozen Zongren. He even chose to face Funying alone and let his injured teammates escape. In comparison, his disciple Tuan Zhang is simply a stinky shit. And my master is that stupid dog that shit. Sarutobi, follow me to Area B4. Thousands of hands used Thunder God to move quickly. Hope, everything is too late. However, the difference in strength between the two sides of the battle is too great. One side is the first generation of Funying in the world of ninja, even in the 5 shadows, it will not be a powerful existence. On the other hand, he is only 2 years old, who has just left the ninja school. Although Chinshufei did not give up, Li Jexuan had already been sentenced to death in his heart. Konoha line of defense, Zone B4. Moonlight is like blood, Chinsho Janji and Yufei Rizhan finally rushed here. What surprised Chinshojian was that Li Jexuan hadn't died yet, he was still fighting. Ha. Li Jexuan was lying in the huge sandpit, panting hard, his legs broke, his chest collapsed, and even the dragon horns on his head were interrupted. Such a serious injury can no longer be recovered by the energy potion. The reason why he is still alive now depends entirely on his energy potion. However, the state of the first generation Funying is not good. There are dozens of sword wounds all over the body, all of which are traces of the grass pheasant sword. Jingmun Chao Peacock burned him into a depilatory chicken. As for the small penetrating wound on the chest, it is the mark left by Rachel. Unfortunately, Li Jexuan shook his head secretly. That Zhao Lakey, as long as he is faster, he will succeed. But this is what makes Feng condense the sand and resist most of the power of Zhao Leiki. It's really unexpected. I will fight fiercely. One day I will be forced to this point by a 2-year-old child. Lido violently coughed out a mouthful of blood, grinned and said, however, it's time for all of this to end. Earth escape crazy sand needle. Lido raised his hands high, the light blue chakra flowing between his palms. The entire desert trembled violently, and every grain of sand was strangely suspended, squeezed into the hands of the fighting, and finally condensed into a huge sand pillar of several hundred meters, suspended high in the sky. If hit by this thing, even the steel will turn into iron sheet. At only 2 years old, you are proud enough to push me to this point. Lido manipulated the sand column to hover in front of Li Jexuan, and nodded with a sneer, I will use my strongest ninjutsu for your funeral. It's too late. Even Shinshojian, who is said to be super fast, can't save Li Jexuan from the fierce fighting men thousands of meters away. Go to hell. Lido waved his arms violently, and the huge sand pillar in the sky smashed down at Li Jexuan like a punishment. Dead. Shinshojian shook his head helplessly. In the end, is it still a step too late? However, Li Jexuan suddenly laughed loudly. Why are you laughing? Lido was panicked in his heart, but Quangsha Divine Needle was running, even he couldn't stop it forcibly. The 8-door Dunjia is powerful because it has 8 doors. And I have only opened 6 doors up to now. Li Jexuan grinned grinningly. Shock the door, open. The reason why Baman Dunjia is known as the physical skill that points directly at the avenue is based on the aura of being willing to cut the emperor off the horse. Emperor Kai fought Ludao Madara, relying on the same bandit spirit of Baman Dunjia. Li Jexuan stretched out the only 2 arms that can be moved, gritted his teeth and roared, Xiaohu. The white air bomb condensed in Li Jexuan's hands, and the roaring silver-white tiger rushed out from between Li Jexuan's palms, enveloping the unmovable fighting. The tiger roared. Even if the fierce fight tried to deflect its body, it was still swallowed by the tiger, leaving only an unwilling head to roll to the ground. Feng, the first generation, is dead. He died in the hands of Li Jexuan, who was only 2 years old. Even if I witnessed it with my own eyes, Shinshojian couldn't believe that this was true. That is the shadow of the 5 ninja village. But if Li Jexuan could hear the mind of Shinshojian, he would definitely dismiss it. As we all know, 5 shadows is equal to Shinobu. In some cases, even Shinobu is worse. For example, the 3 generations of Feng killed by the scorpion of the red sand, and the 4th generation of Feng killed by the Dashawan. Except for a few powerful guys, 5 shadows is an experience pack. Even Konoha's 3 generations of Hokage have been brushed up with experience by his disciple Oshimaru. From this, it can be seen that the shadow level strength of the 5 great nations is so watery. But even so, the killing of Lido by Li Jexuan is still astonishing. This means that Li Jexuan, who is only 2 years old, already has shadow level strength. What kind of monster is this? On this day, Shinsho Janma and Sarutobi Hizen witnessed the birth of a monster. After pouring a few bottles of energy potions, Li Jexuan reluctantly crawled out of the pit. Picking up Feng Ying's head, Li Jexuan grinned and chuckled, power, really fascinating. However, this surprise is really terrible. Li Jexuan just smiled so slightly, and his whole body was in pain. The ancient swords and swords were nothing but this. However, the generous reward for killing Feng Ying finally made Li Jexuan a little balanced. Shadow level treasure chest. The yellow treasure box is wrapped with a gilded shell, and there is a sparkling wind in the center of the box. At first glance, it was a good thing. Li Jexuan couldn't help but laughed again. The next second, ouch, it hurts. In the desolate desert, the stubborn teenager just defeated a powerful enemy and smiled proudly at you. What kind of beautiful picture is this? Brother, is this the future you are talking about? Thousands of hands stood in confusion. He seemed to understand something. But at this moment, a dark shadow suddenly appeared under the moonlight. Wind escape, vacuum big jade. Dan Zhang had been hiding in the sand dunes beside him. He rushed out after seeing Li Jexuan's victory over the fierce fight, and wanted to give Li Jexuan a fatal blow. The evildoer, Shinshojian was so angry that it was about to smoke, and that was a 2-year-old shadow-level powerhouse. You want to cut off Konoha's future. Before I knew it, Shinshojian had raised Li Jexuan's position a lot. But how does Danzo care about this? From the moment Yamada Jinzun walked into the camp, he was determined to betray Konoha. It's just that he is not reconciled. If I don't kill this guy, how am I willing to leave? Danzo roared and spewed a terrifying air cannon. Even in the B-level ninjutsu, this vacuum big jade was a very powerful ninjutsu. Danzo. Li Jexuan's eyes widened fiercely. I have to say that Danzo is worthy of being a disciple taught by the second generation, regardless of the timing and location of the sneak attack. Danzo, are you so anxious to reincarnate? Li Jexuan gritted his teeth helplessly, and the severe pain caused by the shock made him unable to fight any ninjutsu. But if you want to suppress the pain caused by opening the door, you can only open the door again. But if this happens, the next time the horror ends, his injuries will be more serious and even death. But he can't take care of that much now. 8-door Dunjia Array, start the door open. The dark blue chakra spewed out again. Li Jexuan just smashed the vacuum big jade air cannon with a light fist, and then crushed the Danzo that would stir the Konoha Fungyan into a pool of meat. Danzo. Li Jexuan unlocked the startled door and fell on his back. I will not forget to cause trouble if I die. In the future, I must use the dirty earth to reincarnate to catch you and kill you hundreds of times to relieve your hatred. Where is this? Li Jexuan slowly opened his eyes and found himself lying on the snow-white hospital bed. This turned out to be Konoha Hospital. How long has he been in a coma? Has he been sent back to Konoha? At this moment, the voice of medical staff chatting. The cute nurse with an apple face gently pressed Li Jexuan's quilt together, and exclaimed with admiration, I heard that this kid killed the enemy Feng Ying. The second generation of adults sent him back with Fei Lei Shen all the way. Quote. Hearing this, Li Jexuan nodded secretly, so he shouldn't have been in a coma for long. The pie-faced nurse with a pocky face on the side tried to cover her 40-yard mouth with a pig's hoof-like hand. Hey, but he seems to be a useless person, and the nerves in his body are broken. Okay. Hearing this, Li Jexuan no longer cared about peeking at the beautiful female nurse, and quickly asked, System. I'm disabled. Li Jexuan. Shadow Ninja crippled. The system still cherishes words like gold. However, he was really disabled. Li Jexuan grinned a little bit painfully. He didn't expect that he would end up like this when Feng Ying had been slaughtered. But unexpectedly, Li Jexuan didn't feel too nervous. Before he knew it, Li Jexuan already had the mentality of a strong man. That is, no matter what situation he faces, he has the confidence to overcome it. However, at this moment, there was a noise outside the door of the ward. Shinshojian walked in with a bald middle-aged medical ninja, and Li Jexuan closed his eyes subconsciously. Dean, how can he still wake up? Shinshojian looked at Li Jexuan, who was covered in bandages, a little guilty. Li Jexuan suffered such a serious injury. After all, he couldn't get away from the Hokage. Okay. The head without hair groaned for a while and sighed. This child has all nerves in his whole body because of the abuse of forbidden surgery. With the current medical standards, he may not be able to wake up in his life. That means, don't say it's a ninja, he can't take care of himself. Dean Baldiao nodded affirmatively. In short, it's a vegetable. Vegetative. Fei Jian's face became very ugly. You know, this was originally a 2-year-old shadow-level powerhouse with a promising future, but now it has fallen to this point. He is guilty. Next, the village will strongly support the development of medical ninjutsu. Shinsho gritted his teeth and said, if you want someone to give someone, you want money to give money, you must cure Li Jexuan as soon as possible. Konoha needs him. Hearing this, Dean Bald was excited and secretly clenched his fist. Now, he sent it. As long as the scientific research funds arrive, I will immediately be greedy. No, that's wrong, I will immediately conduct research. Dean Baldiao's bald head was smoking, and he was so excited. Li Jexuan, what of wealth? Jia Xuanjin. What people did not expect was that little Tsunade rushed over from behind Kenma. She no longer cared about the identity of Princess Konoha, plunged deeply into Li Jexuan's arms, crying aloud, why lie to me? Say yes, wait for you to come back and be together forever. Together forever. For a 2-year-old child, this seems a bit premature. Subconsciously, the blue veins on his forehead slightly jumped between chinshufa. Li Jexuan, this kid unexpectedly abducted his granddaughter so quickly. But before he got angry, he was stunned. Li Jexuan has become a vegetable. Even the old-fashioned Shinshojian can't get angry at a plant. Thousands of words turned into a sigh. He is sorry, Lee Jexuan. Don't cry, Tsunade-sama, he can't wake up. Dr. Baldock stood aside and smiled. I promise with my professional ethics that unless a new medical ninjutsu is developed, he will never wake up. But before he finished his words, Lee Jexuan opened his eyes and looked at Tsunade a little bit dozingly. You girl, when did I lie to you? Jia Xuanjin, are you awake? As soon as Lee Jexuan woke up, Tsunade burst into a smile, and a cute dimple appeared on his red face. Shinshojian was also very happy. In any case, it is a good thing for Lee Jexuan to wake up. Ahem, my throat is so dry. Lee Jexuan pretended to be dying of thirst. Tsunade quickly turned his head, and naturally ordered, Second grandfather, hurry up and pour a glass of water, Yuxuan-kun is thirsty. Nani? Chinshufa's eyes widened involuntarily. Is there a mistake? Konoha Hokage owns himself upright, and he has more than 1,000,000 soldiers. Hurry up, I haven't forgiven you yet. Tsunade clenched her small fist angrily, and she knew everything about Danzo's attack on Lee Jexuan. As the saying goes, one day is a teacher and a lifelong father, so counting, 1,000 hands is equal to Danzang father. Another old saying goes well, the son is not the godfather. Lost. Thousands of hands sighed and poured water honestly. Gudong. Seeing this, Dean Bald could not help swallowing. He had never seen such a patient in his life, and asked Hokage to pour water himself. Hey, that bald scoop. Lee Jexuan's mouth is a psychic crit, but Dean Baldiao is a man with a city mansion, and Master Naruto has gone to pour water obediently. What kind of cookie is he? When Tsunade-sama's affection for him fades, it is not too late to slowly concoct him. Brother Lee, what's your order? Dean Baldiao smiled like a chrysanthemum with an old face, hungry or thirsty. Would you like me to show you a show? I dance very well. Lee Jexuan simply thought about it. An old hairless chrysanthemum was twisting its waist in the ward. Haozan did not vomit. Lee Jexuan resolutely shook his head. It's not necessary. It's just that there will be 3 patients who will come down from the front in the past 2 days. Just take care of them. Quote. The injuries suffered by Medway and the others are not minor, and they must be sent back to Konoha for treatment. Any other orders? Dean Bald looks very dog-legged and has no lower limit. However, the more people of this kind who put down their body, the more ruthless they turn their faces when they gain power in the future. No, it's just that you look so sorry, so try not to show up in front of me in the future. Lee Jexuan didn't save face to Dean Baldiao. He had seen too much of this kind of person in his life. The moths in the system had nothing to do with them except for being rudder by the wind and bullying the weak. But I didn't expect that there would be such a guy in Naruto world. Okay, you order, I will do it. Dean Baldiao rolled out roundly. At this moment, Lee Jexuan and Tsunade were left in the entire ward. I'm so glad you didn't leave me. Tsunade leaned on Lee Jexuan's chest, tears in his eyes. I almost thought I would never see you again. Hearing this, Lee Jexuan couldn't help but feel a little moved. Although Tsunade is young, the friendship is true. But the more this happened, Lee Jexuan became more uncomfortable. After thinking for a long time, he still said, Tsunade, maybe you should abandon me. What? I am a vegetable now, and I don't know when I will recover. Lee Jexuan gritted his teeth. Maybe a year, maybe 10 years, or maybe I won't be able to recover for a lifetime, ooh. I forbid you to say that. At the same time, outside the ward, the nurse was stopped by the door tightly. Here, traffic is temporarily prohibited. Shinshojian had a dark face, and the water cup in his hand was trembling. This is not to blame Lee Jexuan, he is a vegetable, a vegetable. Why is this kid not a normal person? If he is a normal person, I must kill him. It was late at night, and only Lee Jexuan was left in the huge ward. Although Tsunade strongly requested to stay with him, but because of the strong opposition from Senju Kuma and Lee Jexuan, after guaranteeing to see him tomorrow, Tsunade reluctantly left. Lee Jexuan tutted out. Although he played and cultivated, he still hugged and kissed in front of other people's grandpa. But, he is a man with a bottom line after all. But it's better to be quiet. At least you can let Lee Jexuan see what he has gained this time. 38 primary treasure chests, 20 intermediate treasure chests, 2 advanced treasure chests, and 1 shadow treasure chest. This is Li Jexuan's most generous harvest. What people did not expect was that the fellow Danzang also provided him with an advanced treasure chest. But it is a pity that because of being separated from the battlefield mission has completely disappeared. I want to find such opportunities for scoring in the future, but there are not many. However, people must be content and happy. The 38 primary treasure chest opened without any accident, and the whole 38 energy potions were light green leaks. Although there are no surprises, it can be regarded as a replenishment of inventory. The battle against Feng Ying fiercely wiped out Li Jexuan's potion reserve. A total of 19 chakra potions were issued from the intermediate treasure box, and one more intermediate ninja sledgehammer of steel and iron. It's a pity that it's a useless thing, and it can only be saved to see if there is any other use. When it was time to open the high-level treasure chest again, Li Jexuan couldn't help being a little excited. I still remember the last time the elementary experience scroll. Although there is no direct reward, but a channel to obtain rewards, Li Jexuan made a lot of money last time. However, it is a pity that even 2 treasure chests were opened, and 1 scroll of experience did not appear. Life potion, fate potion. There are 2 more bottles of medicine, and the same bottle style as the energy medicine. It's just that the potion of life is a magnificent deep red, and the potion of destiny is a mysterious deep purple. Life potion. As long as there is a breath, I can save you. Potion of destiny. Drink me and I will change your destiny. These 2 bottles of potions seem to be more high-end than the energy potions, and the chakra potions are much more high-end. Even the introduction is so compelling. Finally, it is the highlight of this unboxing feast. Shadow level treasure chest. Open it. Completely different from ordinary chests, shadow-level treasure chests emit a dazzling light like the sun. Sure enough, it is indeed a shadow-level treasure chest. It must be a good thing to emit such a dazzling light. Is it Super S-grade ninjutsu, or the ninjutsu of the 6 Tao Immortals? Li Jexuan is looking forward to it. After a long while, the light slowly dissipated. Li Jexuan looked at his empty hands and muttered to himself blankly, what about things? Congratulations, you have successfully upgraded the system and obtained the real right to use the system. The prompt of the system was still so timely. Li Jexuan nodded secretly, and the voice of the system seems to have become a little more humane. But wait, the real right to use the system. Li Jexuan's eyes widened suddenly. Could it be that I have been using a fake system? To be precise, it's a beta version. The system said without evasiveness. Kill Lido, you pass the test. Hearing this, Li Jexuan's eyes widened in surprise. What are the additional functions of the system? What are my benefits? If he managed to kill Lido, and the shadow treasure chest he got was just to make the system speak a little softer, he would rather keep testing. The mall system and other world power props have been added. Mall system. Li Jexuan activated this system subconsciously, and couldn't help drooling after just looking at it. The power of the 6 immortals, the human body of Asura, the human body of Indra. The entire Hokage world's all the good things called on the number are in it. As long as he has enough points, he can gather the essence of the entire Hokage world in 1 instant. When it comes time to punch Ludaoban, stepping on Kagayaji is not a dream. Even Naruto world's ultimate boss, Dao Shi, Jin Shi, they are not enough to watch. But, Asura fairy human body. Millions of points. The power of the 6 immortals. 10 million points. My balance. 1200. In addition to the good things in Naruto world, Li Jexuan even discovered the Gundam that he was thinking about. It seems that the ability items in other worlds refer to this. Up to the 1st generation machine. 1 billion points. Not expensive, this thing is used for interstellar warfare after all. Li Jexuan comforted himself. Anyway, whether he is a billion or 100 million, I can't afford it. How to get points? Although expensive, Li Jexuan did not give up. After all, compared to a treasure chest where there is no way to control the content, such a clearly marked purchase is obviously more real. It can be obtained by completing system tasks and unlocking achievements. The system gave a very thoughtful announcement. You have completed 2 common achievements, 1 epic achievement, and a total of 1200 points. Very well, give me a task. There is a blazing flame in Li Jexuan's eyes. The eye of reincarnation, the power of the immortal, Gundam, here I am. Please complete all test tasks before accepting the task. I still have a task to complete. Li Jexuan's eyes widened suspiciously, and after looking through it for a long time, he discovered that it turned out that the previous task of making 10 million tails had not been completed. Unexpectedly, he is now as strong as a shadow rank, and he will be caught by this dilemma. At this moment, the system warmly reminded, given your current physical condition, the life medicine can completely restore your body. At the cost of a shadow-level treasure chest, the upgraded system has become much more active and kind. Li Jexuan drank the magnificent red potion gently in the glass bottle. A majestic energy rushed into the body, and the nerves in the whole body began to grow again under the stimulus of the medicine, and even some of the hidden injuries left by the previous battle were all restored. In just an instant, the whole person is like a new life. Power is pouring out of the body. The effect of the system potion is still so powerful. Li Jexuan feels that his current state is better than ever, and he can't wait to complete the task. But before he could get off the bed, Tsunade and Senjuka opened the door and walked in. Jia Xuanjin. Tsunade got into Li Jexuan's quilt like a returning swallow and hugged Li Jexuan. The corner of Chinshojian's eyes jumped, and finally he resisted and said nothing. You are a vegetable, I will bear it. However, the Dean Baldiao standing on the side could see the thoughts of Chinshojian, and Chao Tsunami smiled and shook his head. Princess Tsunade, you press Li Xiaozhi like this, it is not good for his recovery. Hearing this, Tsunade decisively got under Li Jexuan's body, then let him press me, I don't want to separate from him for a second. The teeth in the 1,000 hands are almost broken, he is a vegetable, a vegetable. Seeing that he was doing bad things with kind intentions, Dean Baldiao quickly remedied, Princess Tsunade, it's useless, he is a vegetative now, and he can't feel your presence. How could be? Tsunade hugged Li Jexuan suspiciously. I can feel his heartbeat, why can't he feel mine? Seeing this, Dean Baldiao smiled and nodded to Li Jexuan, how about? Little Li, can you feel Princess Tsunade's body temperature? More than just being able to feel body temperature, including smooth and tender skin, plump sensuality, and the unique milk fragrance of cute loli. Li Jexuan wanted to say, I feel clearly. However, after looking at the murderous Chinshojian, Li Jexuan still honestly closed his mouth. Hee, Li Xiaozhi can't speak, I'll know by doing a test for you. Dean Baldiao smiled and lifted Li Jexuan's quilt, and found his knee. A normal person hits here, there will be a knee-jerk reaction, but he is a vegetable. While talking, Dean Bald raised his fist and tapped it gently. Boom! With a swift and violent leg, the smiling Dean Bald was kicked out. This is just an accident, there may still be a little nerve in it. After a while, Dean Baldiao grabbed his face and barely got up, found Li Jexuan's other leg, and tapped it again. Boom! This time, Dean Bald flew directly out of the window and fell onto the lawn below. After a long while, Dean Baldiao walked up with a cane and smiled awkwardly, this is also an accident. Is such a powerful force really something that vegetative people can emit? If he hadn't personally sent the seriously injured Li Jexuan over, 1,000 hands would even suspect that this kid Li Jexuan was not injured at all, this is just a scam to seek fame. However, as soon as this thought appeared, Chinshojian even self-examined. No, I can't continue to be prejudiced against Li Jexuan. It was my prejudice that hurt him, ashamed. President, take care of him, just speak up if you want. Chinsho could not stay any longer, he was ashamed that he still didn't trust Li Jexuan. Pride and prejudice should not appear on a Hokage. Thousands of hands walked away, but it is strange that the bald dean who likes to flatter but rarely did not leave. Have you found it? Li Jexuan smiled and nodded towards Tsunade. Tsunade, you go outside to see Grandpa no. 2. At present Tsunade still had the slightest temperament of a princess. As soon as Li Jexuan spoke, Tsunade nodded and left with affection, and walked out. As soon as Tsunade walked out of the ward, Director Bald could not wait to rush over. He opened the quilt and hugged Li Jexuan's thigh as a stroke. The light blue chakra was flowing on Li Jexuan's thigh, as if he was exploring something. After a while, Dean Baldiao put down his hand and sighed deeply, it's all over. Do you know that I have recovered? Li Jexuan smiled and stood up, staring at the gray-faced Dean, teasing, what? The patient is fine, but you have this expression. Upon hearing this, Dean Bald had an expression that was more ugly than crying. Your illness is cured, but our medical ninja has to tighten our belts to live. The 30 million research fee just applied for is still not approved. 2 tears shed from the corner of Dean Bald's eyes. You ask me why there are tears in my eyes. Because of my deep love for these banknotes. Who said the money is gone? Li Jexuan smiled teasingly. Upon hearing this, Dean Baldiao widened his eyes in excitement. Are you willing to continue to pretend to be a patient? Do not. Dean Bald's face was like a traffic light, constantly changing. But I am willing to act in a play. Thousands of hands are leaving. After confirming Feng Ying's death, Cheyenne Village became even crazier. It's the situation with Konoha's endless death. The wind and shadow of the new term is also like history, succeeded by the bald head named Shaman. In terms of strength alone, Shaman is far stronger than Lidu. He developed the puppet technique and magnetic escape technique that Cheyenne Village used in later generations. It can be said that without Shaman, there would be no subsequent generations of Feng Ying. Because of this, the Konoha coalition forces are now under great pressure. As the coach, Shinsho Janma must rush back to the battlefield as soon as possible. Li Jexuan, I used to misunderstand you. I apologize to you. I will let Dean Maeda take good care of you. Standing in front of Li Jexuan's hospital bed, Senshojian said sincerely apologized to Li Jexuan. As for you and Tsunade, I will not ask any more. Blink, blink. Li Jexuan on the hospital bed blinked desperately in disbelief. Although he wanted to jump up and give Shinshojian a big hug, but as a vegetable, he must have a vegetable professional ethics. Why, what do you want to say? Seeing Li Jexuan blinking desperately, Shinshojian squatted down involuntarily and listened carefully. What do you want? Just say. Dignified Konoha Hokage, a man who combines strength and power in this world, actually bent his knees for him. Li Jexuan was moved, barely opened his mouth, and muttered, in any case, don't go to the Kingdom of Thunder, or you will be dead. Okay. Shinshojian stood up involuntarily, eyes full of puzzlement and guilt. Sure enough, Li Jexuan still refused to forgive him. Even at this time he cursed him not to die. Sorry. 2 tears flicked across the corner of Shinshojian's eyes. It was his ignorance that delayed Li Jexuan. After speaking, Shinshojian hid his face in shame and left. Li Jexuan can't hold it. Second generation, eldest brother, brother in the door. Li Jexuan cried silently in his heart. I misunderstood, this is really a misunderstanding. In history, Shinshojian died in the Land of Thunder. During the peace talks with Raikage, the Golden Horn and Silver Horn rebelled, causing the 2 pillars of the Thousand Hands clan to collapse. Konoha also declined from the Wild Father of the 5 Kingdoms to become the Overlord. This feeling is as wonderful as changing from a father to a big brother. After thinking about it for a while, Li Jexuan grinned and chuckled, but what does he care about? He is just a vegetable. The night was getting deeper and the noisy hospital gradually calmed down. Crack. The door of Li Jexuan's ward was suddenly pushed open, and a luminous salted egg sneaked in. By the way, can you stop being so sneaky? Li Jexuan looked at the wretched face in front of the bed, and at a glance he knew that he hadn't done a good job. He shook his head helplessly. Just your mental quality, and you want to be embezzled. Aren't you afraid of fate and greed? Hey, we are certainly not as good as Brother Li. On the road of corruption, you are like a bright moon in the sky, and we can only look up to the rot. My admiration for you is like a surging river. Although no brains, Dean Baldiao's flattering skills are getting better and better. Stop it. Li Jexuan sneered and waved his hand. I am not corruption. I just skip the research and development stage and directly take out the scientific research results. This is normal labor income. Yes, yes. Dean Baldiao did not hesitate to extend his thumb. As expected, it is Brother Li, speaking at such a high level. Okay, don't shoot. I kept flattering, regardless of whether the horses hurts or not. If you use too much force, you can easily be teased by horses. Li Jexuan squinted his eyes and whispered, how's it going? Has everyone been found? Report brother, everyone has been found. Definitely a professional actor. Dean Baldiao fiercely slapped the fat breast of his bee mask. If you are lame, you will be lame, saying that standing up can definitely run a marathon. Li Jexuan nodded lightly, and only reacted after a while. I asked you to find a patient. We want to advertise for promotion. What do you do with actors? Okay. Dean Baldiao scratched his head with a puzzled look. You didn't mean to find a group of professional actors to pretend to be patients. Then we. You idiot. Li Jexuan couldn't help it anymore. He jumped up and slapped the salted egg. You are stupid. Are you still as stupid as you in the world? Dean Baldiao scratched his head with an aggrieved look. He felt that this plan was seamless. Find me a batch of real patients. Good news, good news. Konoha Hospital has developed the cure all diseases medicine, 1 bottle for 1 course of treatment, 1 bottle is effective. Whether you have a cold, fever, or fatigue, as long as you drink a bottle, you will see immediate results and be reborn immediately. Next, let's take a look at the reports brought to us by the reporters in front of us at the press conference of medicines for curing diseases. In front of the camera, 3 snow-white hospital beds were laid out in front of the hospital gate. The bald courtyard walked through it with a face full of spring breeze, while Li Jexuan was lying on the last hospital bed honestly. Excuse me, Dean Yamada, I heard that you have developed a miraculous medicine that can cure all diseases. I wonder if this news is true. In front of the news reporters, Dean Baldiao had a decent face, and his head slightly said, the news is true. Today we are holding a press conference to cure all diseases. Hearing this, another reporter hurriedly asked, is this cure-all medicine real? It sounds a bit exaggerated. Although he was questioned, Dean Baldiao did not panic and smiled and nodded. As the saying goes, the experiment yields real knowledge, and then we will show all Konoha's villagers the efficacy of curing all diseases. Please wait and see. As he said, Dean Bald kept smiling and turned to leave. After a while, Dean Baldiao walked to Li Jexuan's bed and lowered himself as if checking the patient's condition. Brother Li, everything is going according to plan. Let's start. Li Jexuan nodded slightly. Dear folks and elders, everyone gathered here today to witness the efficacy of curing all diseases. Dean Baldiao smiled and took 3 bottles of medicines of different colors from the cute nurse with apple face. They were light green, green, and light red. These 3 bottles of potions are the normal version, the deluxe version, and the supreme version. Dean Baldiao smiled and waved his hand. Next, let's take a look at the effects of these potions. The camera closely followed the head of the bald scoop and came to the first hospital bed. This patient has a severe fever and has a continuous runny nose. The camera was very sensible and gave a close-up of the nose, and the head of the bald scoop nodded repeatedly. The red envelope before was not in vain. Now, feed in the normal version of our cure for all diseases. Grumbling, the first patient quickly drank the medicine. Then, something magical happened. The patient immediately got off the hospital bed, his head no longer hurts, his waist no longer sore, and his nose no longer dripped. This is simply amazing. How much is this medicine? The patient was shocked and immediately asked. Dean Baldiao smiled slightly, shook his head and said, it is our duty to treat illnesses and save people. Talking about money is too rusty. What a good doctor. It's just an angel. This is the future of Konoha Medical. For a moment, the sound of praise flew towards the head of the bald scoop like snowflakes. Nothing, this is what I should do. While talking, Dean Baldiao walked towards the second hospital bed with his hands behind his back. This patient is over-fatigued, which has caused the whole body to lose muscles. He has been lying in bed for several days. If there is no accident, at least 1 month of conditioning is needed. Dean Baldiao smiled and took out the green potion and poured it into his mouth, but if you drink our deluxe version to cure all diseases. Grumbling, the green potion was poured down his stomach, and the healthy and strong man stood up. Get on the dumbbells. The patient who was still weak just now took the dumbbells and went up and down, and began to exercise swiftly and vigorously. A miracle. It's incredible. I can continue the code word again. The excited patient dropped the dumbbells and grabbed the keyboard excitedly. How much is this bottle of medicine? No matter how expensive it is, I will pay you back. Hearing this, Dean Baldiao grinned deeply. Money is not important, what is important is the heart of healing and saving people. Did we develop cures for all diseases to make money? Dean Baldiao stretched out 3 fingers with sorrow. We spent 30 million taels just to research and cure all kinds of diseases. Besides, the cheapest bottle cures all diseases, and the cost alone is 10,000 taels. The head of the bald scoop turned around sadly. The originally fat figure was inexplicably thinner, and a faint grief made his nose sour. At this moment, all of Konoha's many years of resentment towards Konoha's expensive medical treatment have all disappeared, replaced by endless guilt. It turns out that doctors are so great. They don't do it for money, but just to cure diseases and save people. After brushing up his reputation, Dean Baldiao turned around contentedly and walked towards the last bed. This is Li Jexuan, the 2-year-old genius who killed Feng Ying. As soon as this remark came out, everyone was surprised. Although I have heard such rumors, it is still shocking to hear the confirmation news. Konoha's 2-year-old boy killed the enemy's commander, Fukuge Sand Ninja Village. Okay, give us Konoha. Sharon, this time is really proud. Li Jexuan, I love you, I want to give you a baby. 2-year-old, don't you let it go. Dean Baldiao sighed in a cold sweat. He had already killed his opponent head-on, but because of a shameless sneak attack, he became disabled for life. Oh my god, everyone sighed and felt sad that Li Jexuan had fallen to this point. However, after dozens of days of research by our medical team, Dean Baldiao held up the light red potion. We finally developed a supreme version for curing all diseases. Everyone's eyes were attracted by this light red potion. The beautiful color was as good as watermelon juice. So far, we only have this supreme version to cure all diseases. Dean Baldiao gently opened Li Jexuan's mouth and fed the medicine in. Guru, Guru, a magical scene happened. Li Jexuan stood up and got up from the hospital bed like a normal person. This is a stop for national celebrations, this is a stop for Konoha's rise. What a miracle, Omega, I'm dizzy. Everyone who saw this scene was stunned, because there were the 2 previous examples, they didn't doubt the authenticity of the medicine at all. How much are these medicines? I want to buy, I want to buy. Quickly, give me medicine, give me medicine. At this time, Dean Baldiao came out and smiled and nodded. The regular version is 10,000 taels, the deluxe version is 100,000 taels, the supreme version is currently out of stock, and the pre-sale price is 1 million taels. Hearing this price, the waves of people couldn't help but quiet, and Dean Bald was shocked, wondering, is it too expensive? No, it's too cheap. Everyone present, everyone not present was crazy, waving a lot of banknotes and shouting, bring me a bottle. You buy a hammer for a bottle, the normal and deluxe versions, give me 10 bottles. 10 bottles called a fart. I have it all. Suddenly, a small voice came out. If it's just for treating a cold, 10,000 taels is a bit expensive. As soon as this voice came out, it was sprayed back one by the crowd. Poor, don't talk if you can't afford it. I didn't hear the dean just talk about the cost of 10,000 taels, people didn't think about making money, do you still have a conscience? It cost 30 million taels just to develop this medicine. You don't think it's too expensive for you to develop this medicine? You can just go home and wait for death. For a moment, he said that the expensive guy was pointed at by thousands of husbands, and a big man almost never got scolded. The response of the medicine for curing all diseases was unprecedentedly strong, and the crowd even surrounded the head of the bald scoop and insisted on giving him money. Mr. Dean, you have worked hard, look at your hair is gone. If you don't accept it, you can't do it. If you don't accept it, you look down on them. Tell me, who is going to make sense? Seeing this scene, Chinsho on the other side of the TV was stunned. Didn't the 30 million yuan have just been approved? Are medical ninjas so efficient now? Chinsho Zhangjian was instinctively skeptical, but the normal version and the deluxe version for curing all kinds of diseases have been delivered to him. The efficacy of the drug has been tested, and it is even better than the TV show. It seems that the whole thing seems impeccable. But looking at the TV, Li Jexuan, who jumped alive as soon as he left, couldn't help but feel a little uncomfortable. He always felt this whole thing was strange. But soon, Chinsho slapped himself severely. No, I can't be so narrow. Li Jexuan is a good boy, and I can no longer be prejudiced against him. Isn't I a good Hokage? Chinsho Zhangjian fell into deep self-blame again. Chinsho Zhangjian is undoubtedly a good Hokage. As for curing all diseases, of course there is something strange. To put it simply, curing all kinds of diseases is just adding water to energy potions. The deluxe version is to use more energy and potion with water. The ratio of water to water is about 1 bottle of energy medicine for 100 bottles of regular version to cure all diseases, and 10 bottles of deluxe version to cure all diseases. That's right, this is not mixing medicine with water, but mixing medicine with water. As for the supreme version, the only bottle of life potion has been drunk by Li Jexuan, and naturally there is not even the water injection version. As for the pale red potion, healing all kinds of diseases, is on fire, so is Dean Baldiao. Li Jexuan also made a lot of money. After he took out 10 bottles of energy potions and mixed them with water to cure all diseases, he sold out 10 million in one day. Even more frightening is that on the black market, the price of a regular bottle of cure for all diseases has increased 5 times in just 5 hours to 50,000 too. The deluxe version has doubled tenfold, 1 million 2 bottles. No bargaining yet, really priceless. Dean Baldo also defeated a bunch of handsome men, and was unanimously named Konoha's most popular man in the 12 years by everyone in Konoha. Hot, really hot. Now, wherever Dean Bald goes, there are a large group of people asking for medicine to follow, and they can't wait to bow down and die. However, the medicine has long been sold out. Before taking the medicine, let's go and see the previous patient. The medicine was taken by Li Jexuan, and Dean Bald could not take out half a bottle to cure all diseases. A group of people gathered around Dean Bald and walked into Li Jexuan's home. Before Dean Bald could speak, they slapped the table and shouted, "Is Li Jexuan at home? Dean Yamada came to see you." Okay. Li Jexuan frowned and walked out with a weird dry smile on his face. What? My savior is here. As soon as he saw Li Jexuan's expression, Dean Baldiao was completely panicked, and hurriedly drove out all the crowds with an angry roar, "You all go out. Brother Li Jexuan is Konoha's hero. He has recovered from his illness. Don't affect his rest." After driving everyone out, Dean Baldiao's complexion instantly changed 180 degrees, flattering Li Jexuan poured water, squeezed his shoulders, and beat his back. "Do you remember what I told you?" Li Jexuan sneered and put the tea aside, and pinched Dean Bald's neck. "I think you have forgotten it all." No, I didn't forget. Dean Baldiao quickly explained. "It's just that the medicine is sold out, and those guys are urging me. I was excited for a while, just." Ha ha. Li Jexuan slammed Dean Baldiao to the ground with a sneer. "I told you, if there is nothing special, don't come to me. It's just that the medicine is sold out, so you dare to find it." Li Jexuan used the grass pheasant sword to touch Dean Bald's throat. "You have to remember that what you get now is from me. If I want to, I can take it back anytime." Yes. Dean Bald was so scared that he nodded and couldn't even speak completely. Roll. Li Jexuan's wrist trembled, and the grass pheasant sword left a deep bone scar on his leg. But Dean Bald couldn't take care of it and screamed for pain, so he crawled and escaped. "President, what's the matter with you? Then Li Jexuan hit you. Even if he is Konoha's hero, he can't treat the savior like this." "I was in a hurry when I bought the medicine." No, I accidentally fell myself and fell on the scissors." Dean Baldiao smiled bitterly again and again. This sword was considered to make him sober. "After all, I'm just a dog of Li Jexuan, I must put my position right." Li Jexuan curled his lips in disdain. Such a guy is so humble. "It's just a few days to get overwhelmed, I don't know that the sky is thicker. If you don't teach a lesson from time to time, one day you will eat the Lord. However, if you use it well, that is a fierce and good dog." Li Jexuan did make a fortune this time. Selling medicines 10 million taels, performance fees 20 million taels, a total of 30 million taels. You may not know what this concept is. In Japanese yen, it's about 6 billion yen. Converted into Chinese currency, there are as much as 300 million. More importantly, the novice task of earning 10 million is finally completed. Mission completed. Reward: a junior treasure chest. There is a night without stars. Dean Baldiao stood in front of Li Jexuan with a look of surprise. "Brother Li, you want to open a shop? Well, this matter is left to you." Li Jexuan took out 100 bottles to cure all diseases. "This 100 bottles cure all diseases, it will be enough for you to sell for a while." As soon as he saw the cure for all diseases, Dean Baldiao's eyes were red. He almost wanted to dye these small medicine bottles. These days he is almost annoyed by those who ask for medicine, but he doesn't have half a bottle of medicine on his body, and he dare not come to Li Jexuan. "Brother Li, leave this to me, don't worry." Dean Baldiao patted his breasts, which had been fattened by another cup, and vowed to pack tickets. However, Li Jexuan's thoughts are no longer on him. Trigger task. A well-known shop nationwide. The prompt of the system shocked Li Jexuan's spirit. After completing all the novice tasks yesterday, he looked forward to the stars and the moon but did not expect to come. Today the mission finally appeared. It's just that the name of this task seems a bit weird. Just as Li Jexuan wanted to study it carefully, Dean Baldiao suddenly asked, "By the way, Brother Li, what is the name of this shop?" Li Gang's shop. Li Jexuan said it almost subconsciously. Just like many mom and pop shops in the previous life, Li Gang Xiaodian each took one of the names of him and Tsunade. But inexplicably, Li Jexuan realized that the name seemed a bit weird. Li Gang seems to have heard it somewhere. However, it was too late to regret, and the mission system had successfully entered Li Gang's shop into the mission. Task content. Let Li Gang's name resound throughout the country of fire. Task reward. A high-level treasure chest, 1,000 points. The generous rewards made Li Jexuan's eyes shine. As long as he completes this task, he will be close to 1/1,000,000th of his dream of driving a Gundam in the Naruto world. It's so exciting. Li Jexuan gave the unused endurance equipment, the flying scythe and the steel hammer to the chief bald scoop. Then, I put this task aside completely. After all, opening a store is not something that can be done overnight. He gave the bald scoop to both the reputation and the product, and then just wait patiently. Just when Li Jexuan thought that he had returned to the state without a task to do, a sudden task broke the tranquility. Trigger task. The lurker who swallows gold. Quest content. The act of killing Feng angered Sharon. The gold-swallowing lurker has uncovered the reward, and survival is victory. Task reward. 5,000 points. A reward. Swallow gold. A few keywords bounced slightly in Li Jexuan's mind, and a clear figure appeared. Jiaodu. The terrifying existence that survived the assassination of the first generation. With 5 hearts, he is called a terrible monster with the same life as heaven and earth. Staring at him. Jiaodu is undoubtedly a shadow-level powerhouse, but he is not only terrible here, but that he is a shadow-level assassin. For the sake of money, killing is omnipotent. Few people who are targeted by him can survive. But, Li Jexuan shrugged disdainfully, so what? Isn't he so boring now? Instead of worrying about the corner capital who doesn't know where, it's better to think about what you should do next. After he killed Fukage, he didn't even think about going to the battlefield in Saranan village. As long as he shows up, there are tens of thousands of ninjas, I am afraid that he will die with his life. Learning ninjutsu, there is almost no second shadow-level powerhouse in the village. Staying in the village all day and playing with Tsunade seems too depraved. While Li Jexuan was scratching his head, Dean Baldiao suddenly smiled flatteringly and asked for credit. By the way, Brother Li, the wounded you mentioned before have already returned. I have placed them in the luxurious ward. Came back. Li Jexuan couldn't help but his eyes lit up. Yes, he still has teammates. Since there is nothing to do, it is better to play. No, train them. After all, if they are a little stronger, Li Jexuan doesn't need to take care of them. Ah, cut. At this time, Hyuga Yizu who was in the ward could not help but sneeze together. Comfortable. Hyuga Yizu stretched a lazy waist, opened the window, breathed fresh air, and relaxed. Since they were sent back to Konoha as wounded, they were directly placed in a luxurious ward, one for each person, and Hyuga Yizu was the least injured among them. If there is no fight, let's not say, every day there is a beautiful young lady who asks for warmth, happy like a fairy. Do you want to live here for the rest of your life? Hyuga Masazu nodded unconsciously. Yes, I really want to live here for the rest of my life. After a long pause, Hyuga Yizu suddenly recovered and looked out the window in surprise. Who was talking just now? Yamada Needle came out slowly. Needle, when did you become such a joke? Hyuga Masashi scratched his head in doubt, but Yamada Needle rarely said anything. Yamada Junzun shook his head slightly, saying, not himself. Who else can you be? Hyuga Masazu raised his eyebrows angrily. Except for the two of us, there is no ghost here. Before he could finish his words, Li Jexuan slowly floated from the window, squeezing his fists and grinning. Yizu, you seem to be too comfortable recently. Team, Captain, get enlightened. Li Jexuan sneered and threw towards Yizu. 10 minutes later, Hyuga Yizu with a swollen nose and a swollen face covered the wound with a grieved face. I'm still a patient, should I be so unsympathetic? Sympathy. Li Jexuan frowned and sneered. Do you think Lidu will be sympathetic when he comes to the door? With your current strength, you can keep up with me. Hearing this, Hyuga Yazuki couldn't help but fell silent. In that battle, they did not help Li Jexuan at all. Even almost became a burden to Li Jexuan. The ninja team exists because the players can support each other. If the strength gap between the two is too large, they will be left behind by Li Jexuan one day. Thinking of this, Hyuga Yizu clenched his teeth. In any case, he didn't want to be the one left behind. Seeing this, Li Jexuan nodded slightly in satisfaction. Only those who have the desire for power are worthy of his investment. No matter which aspect, Hyuga Yizu is a good investment target. Do you want strength? Li Jexuan Asahi reached out to Yizu. Want enough strength to catch up with me? I think. A shining light broke out in Hyuga's eyes. Even if this force might cost you your life, you don't regret it. Li Jexuan stared at Hyuga Yizu closely. As long as he hesitated a little bit, Li Jexuan would give up. However, I do not regret. Without any hesitation, Hyuga grabbed Li Jexuan's hand and knelt down on one knee. I want to follow you forever, even if I give my life, I am fearless. Ding. Common achievement. The first follower. 200 points are awarded. When creatures pay their lives to follow you, they are called followers. Character. Li Jexuan. Title. Wind Shadow Killer. Follower. Hyuga Yizu, 69 100ths. Followers who have a loyalty value of more than the 60 pass line and are willing to give their lives for it. Until today, Li Jexuan was completely convinced by Hyuga. Well, Li Jexuan smiled and quickly Jayan patted Hyuga's chest with a light palm. Heaven's Curse Seal. Immediately afterwards, a heavenly curse of a 3-hook jade gradually appeared on Hyuga's frail chest. As soon as the curse mark appeared, Hyuga Yasuo screamed and fell down. After all, the curse seal is still an alternative fairy model created by Dashi Wan through Chongwu mutation, similar to the test of the white snake fairy in Longdedong. Not everyone can withstand such a tyrannical force of nature. Ah, ah, Hinata Yizu screamed in pain, and a pair of pure white eyes began to dim. Obviously his body is not enough to support the infusion of natural energy. Seeing natural energy will kill Hyuga. Li Jexuan took out a bottle of energy potion and poured it into Hyuga Yizu. Guru. After the energy potion was taken, Hyuga regained the spirit again, and then contended with the curse seal of the sky. 10 minutes later, the 3-go Jade's curse of heaven finally calmed down. Open your eyes again, and Hyuga is like a new person, his eyes are full of confidence and strength. A curse seal, reshape life. If this thing kills people and Li Jexuan returns to the earth, the world's richest man probably won't have any gates, Buffett. This is the power of the curse. The official plugin in Naruto world, even Sasuke, the son of Chosen, used the mutation technology that he said. At least, in the first battle of Naruto Sasuke's End Valley, Sasuke Shujin Sasuke defeated Naruto. I'm strong. Hyuga Yizu excitedly felt the powerful force flowing in his body, and the curse imprint brought about a comprehensive improvement. The power is so fascinating that Hyuga can't help but give birth to a self-respecting mind in the sky and the earth. But he is a wise man after all, and he has not forgotten who gave him all this. Captain Jia Zan, I will only open these eyes for you in the future. Hyuga Yizu clenched a fist and swore, and the loyalty value of his followers also increased, reaching 80. This means that what Hyuga Tokatsu is saying is sincere. Now if there is a knife that slashes at Li Jexuan, he will definitely give up his life to block it. Loyalty is good, but even if you have different opinions, as long as the curse mark is left, Li Jexuan, as the sealer, wants to kill Hyuga Yizu, but it is just a matter of thought. Not everyone has the good luck of Sasuke, there is a younger brother to protect the whole process. However, the improvement of the curse seal on the strength is obvious. The strength of Hyuga Tokuji jumped directly from the level of Shinin to the point of elite Shinin, and no matter how hard he worked, to combine the second stage of the curse seal with the white eyes, it was not impossible to exceed Kakashi's record. After solving the problem of Hyuga Yakuza's strength, Li Jexuan couldn't help turning his head to look at Yamada Junzun. Do you want to come here? Li Jexuan has always appreciated Yamada Needle, not to mention the powerful medical ninjutsu, and he is also very clever and sensible. It is indeed the guy he came here specially for the first generation. It's just that as a medical ninjutsu, Li Jexuan wasn't sure if he wanted power so much. After all, this is the power to bet on life. Even with the energy potion, Li Jexuan is not sure whether he can guarantee 100% survival. However, Shiniro Yamada's reaction was completely beyond Li Jexuan's expectations. He did not refuse, but he was not fanatical either, but an interesting curiosity. Come as soon as you come. That tone is as if a mountain man who has always been honest and duty enters the city, encountering a temptation invitation from a girl from a hair-washing salon. Li Jexuan was also unambiguous, still the curse of the sky. To get more of the curse of the sky, he will also have a few more retreats in the future. Anyway, these Shanshu chakras are all paid by the White Snake Fairy. But what Li Jexuan didn't expect was that after Yamada Needle found the curse seal, nothing happened, and it was as peaceful as a lake in the mountains. Success. Hyuga Yizu widened his eyes with confusion. He had been tossing about it for a long time before. The pain that seemed to collapse every second of his body would never be forgotten by him. But, success. Yamada Junzun chuckled and stretched out her arm. The curse rune covered her whole body, her strength and aura rose by more than a half. Hyuga Yasuo was stunned. Everyone is also the two people who ate together with Li Jexuan. Is the difference in life just that big? He was tossing about it for a long time, but Yamada Needle relaxed like eating a piece of candy. But what made Li Jexuan frown slightly was that Yamada Junzun still did not become his follower. This means that Shinshin Yamada is not as loyal to him as Hyuga Masazu. But what is strange is that Li Jexuan's system received an inexplicable message. Ding. Senjuzuzu's sense of identification with you has increased. What's happening here? Li Jexuan scratched his head blankly. Why did the old monster between Shinshuju suddenly agree with him? After thinking about it, he can only think that Tsunade said his kind words in front of Zujian. However, as a dignified Hokage, will he really agree with his granddaughter's kind words? Li Jexuan thought for a while, and laughed. Other Hokage is impossible. If Shinshujujian, then maybe. After all, in Hokage in the past, he is the number one in serious existence. When he talked about Tsunade, Tsunade's voice suddenly rang. Jiraiya, you stop for me. Tsunade roared angrily throughout the hospital. If you dare to disturb Kyugen-kun, I will kill you. Quote. The people in the ward were silent. Who is more disturbing the people? Crack. The door of the ward was slammed open, and a little demon with a white explosive head rushed in. The sudden challenge made everyone confused. Challenge me. Li Jexuan looked at Jiraiya with a puzzled face. He really didn't understand what this guy was doing. I don't think you deserve to have Tsunade at all. Jaleda also roared angrily. You don't love her at all, and I don't spend as much time with her. Before he finished speaking, Tsunade broke in and kicked Joraji away. Ono Shimaru followed Tsunade coldly. The inertia of history is so strong that the three of them eventually became friends. Jia Xuanjin, don't care about that fool. Tsunade grabbed Li Jexuan's arm, and explained in a flustered manner, I'm just in a bad mood these days. Hearing this, Li Jexuan felt a little relieved. Men always have some scruples about green. But before Tsunade finished speaking, Joraji got up and roared at Li Jexuan, if you love her, why don't you come to see her for so many days? Hearing this, Li Jexuan frowned involuntarily. He has been busy acting and opening a shop these days, and he has indeed ignored Tsunade. It's my negligence. Li Jexuan gently put Tsunade in his arms, and whispered softly, I opened a small shop, using the names of both of us. Full of happiness, Tsunade shook his head happily. Actually, I know you are busy, and I am in a bad mood. It's not because of this. But before Tsunade finished speaking, Joraji couldn't help it. I want to challenge you. Jiraiya looked up to the sky and roared, he had endured enough. From the day he saw Tsunade, he recognized Tsunade. However, what I never expected was that Li Jexuan had already made the first step. Later, Li Jexuan went to the battlefield. Jiraiya thought he couldn't come back. But Tsunade said, he will come back, I'll wait for him. Faced with this situation, Jiraiya could only gritted his teeth secretly. When Li Jexuan killed Feng Ying, he lay down in the hospital as a vegetative. Gelada thought his chance finally came. However, Tsunade said, "He will get better, I will always wait for him." During that time, Tsunade was groggy and lacking energy every day. He also saw in his eyes and heard in his heart. Why would you rather wait for a vegetable than give me a chance? However, he couldn't rush into the hospital and challenge a vegetative person. Even as a spare tire, Zilai is still a spare tire with a moral bottom line. A few days later, Li Jexuan miraculously recovered. Tsunade finally came out of his low mood. Although heartache, Jiraiya's anger disappeared a lot when he saw Tsunade's smiling face. However, for several days in a row, Li Jexuan did not appear. Tsunade is sad again, whether it is tolerable or unbearable. Gelada also yelled out, "Kumu. Tsunade is such a good woman, but you don't know to cherish it, you don't deserve to have her at all." I have to say that when I was a child, Jilai was more manly than he in the anime. At least, he dared to say love out loud. Unfortunately, Li Jexuan was not ready to regress. Maybe it's destined, and Jilai is also destined to be a tragedy in love. Trigger task. Love defense battle. Task content. Only the strong are worthy of having Tsunade, defeat Jiraiya, and prove that you are better in every aspect. Task reward. 100 points, a 20% discount coupon. Since you launched the challenge, it is as you wish. Li Jexuan directly opened the Jiao Shanren mode, as well as the life gate of the 8-gate Dunjia. The terrifying Shanshu chakra went straight into the sky. Li Jexuan stared coldly at Jiraiya like a god. Captain Hyuga Yizu's eyes widened in surprise. How serious is it to deal with a 3-year-old child? On the side, Needle Yamada suddenly reminded, "Don't forget, he is just a 2-year-old kid." Amount. Hyuga Tokazu suddenly choked. Yes, although the captain's strength and momentum are far more than most adults, but seriously, the captain is only 2 years old. What a monster. Li Jexuan in the mode of Immortal Jiao is quietly suspended in midair, as majestic as a god. The big snake pill in the corner opened his mouth to dissuade the world. "Jiraiya, give up, you are not Li Jexuan's opponent." Upon hearing this, Jilai gritted his teeth and said stubbornly, "I will never give up." Before the words were over, Jilai rushed towards Li Jexuan on his own initiative. Kuwu nodded straight towards Li Jexuan's throat. The sharp kuwu represented Jiraiya's determination. However, ding! The crisp sound of collision made Zilai also stunned. The sharp kunai slammed into the scales of Li Jexuan's neck. No matter how hard he used, he couldn't break through the defenses of the scales. The difference in strength is too big. Jiraiya was not a genius-type ninja, but it was not until he entered Miaomu Mountain that he gradually became stronger. With Li Jexuan's current strength, even standing and allowing Jilai to attack would be meaningless. Li Jexuan stretched out to gently clamp the kunai, but with a slight force, he broke the hard kunai directly. "You are too weak." While talking, Li Jexuan handed out a fist softly, and Jilai flew out directly, and didn't stop until the 2 walls collapsed. Puff! Jilai also squirted out a violent blood, but just such a punch broke his 4 ribs. "Give up, you are not Li Jexuan's opponent." "I will never give up. Even if I can't beat you now, I will beat you one day." Jilai also gritted his teeth and roared. Even if the corners of his mouth were bleeding, he didn't care. Da Shiwan gently shook his head helplessly. Only he who fought with Li Jexuan last time understood. "How fast is Li Jexuan's progress? Last time, I just defeated myself by relying on the secret technique of recovery. But now, even if he did, the result would be no different from Jilai. I don't know the so-called persistence." Li Jexuan actually hates this kind of unnecessary self-confidence. Because he respected the name of Jiraiya's hero, Li Jexuan chose to use the strongest state to solve him. But such unnecessary self-confidence, as if trampling on Li Jexuan's respect. If there is no strength to persist, it will be as disgusting as chewing gum. Even if you are self-willed, you have to recognize reality. With another fierce punch, Li Jexuan squatted Jiraiya's entire chest in. But even so, Tsunade didn't take a look at Kira. Love is like this, like Haruno Sakura and Naruto. No matter how much Naruto does, there is no way to reverse her love. Blood trickled out from the corner of Jiraiya's mouth, and he had completely lost consciousness. But fortunately, this is a hospital, so there is no life worry. But I can't say I have to lie down in the hospital for a few months. After solving Jiraiya, Tsunade finally said her sadness. Thousands of hands, injured. Shaman led hundreds of sand ninja in ambush. If it weren't for the 1,000 swordsman's skill of Flying Thunder God, he would definitely explain it there. Originally, Konoha's strength was much stronger than that of Saiyan, but because of the four-line combat, Konoha's forces were too scattered. Even if none of the other Sannin villages launched a large-scale war, the Konoha coalition forces on the border of the Kingdom of Wind still have difficulty parrying the smashing sand. The second grandfather recently said that he is going to Thunder Country, because as long as the peace talks with Yunrin are successful, the troops that are withdrawn will be enough to defeat Sharon. Tsunade frowned and shook his head worriedly, but I don't know why, I am always a little uneasy. Thunder Country, Yunren. Li Jexuan frowned involuntarily. Unexpectedly, Chinshojian died so early, only Konoha died in the early 13th year. In this case, personal power can play very little role. For the sake of the overall situation, no one can stop the peace talks. And the two shadow-level powerhouses of the Golden Horn and Silver Horn relied on the nine-tailed chakra and the ninja of the six immortals to kill. In this era, there is almost no solution. The death of the second-generation Raikage and the second-generation Hokage is the best proof. This is hardly a force that humans can stop. I just hope that Grandpa number 2 won't have an accident. Ding. Trigger the main mission. Rescue Chinsho Janma. Task content. The beautiful woman sheds tears, the hero can't bear it. As Tsunade's boyfriend, you have the responsibility and obligation to rescue Senjikaima. Reward for task completion. 100,000 points and a shadow-level treasure chest. Mission failure penalty. Random deprivation of a ninjutsu above a level. Li Jexuan was stunned. What is this? Main mission. More importantly, with Li Jexuan's current ability to kill Lidu with drugs. What can you use to block a golden horn and a silver horn with super shadow strength? Rescue Chinsho Janma. This seems like an impossible task. However, it is equally impossible for a 2-year-old child to kill Feng Ying. Li Jexuan is naturally impossible to give up without trying. Not to mention it was for Tsunade, he couldn't accept the punishment of mission failure alone. For ninjutsu above a level, he only has 3. Reiche, the art of immortality, the 8 doors of Dunjia, no matter which one cannot be lost. Tsunade, do you know when they will negotiate? Li Jexuan frowned. With his current strength, he was still too reluctant to stop the Golden Horn and Silver Horn. He needs time. About 30 days. Li Jexuan nodded lightly. In this case, time should be too late. What? Tsunade's eyes widened in confusion. Don't worry, I won't let 1,000 hands leave you. Li Jexuan smiled and hugged Tsunade tightly. I promise, let him come back alive. Yamada Junzun frowned involuntarily. We are going back to the battlefield. San Shinobu won't let you go. Hearing this, Li Jexuan curled his lips in disdain. I'm not interested in playing with those idiots in the sand. If it weren't for Metroway, Li Jexuan would rather stay in Konoha to develop slowly, and would not want to go to the border to fight for life. Then Yamada Needle's eyes widened suspiciously. Let's go fishing. Li Jexuan grinned lightly. Fishing. Yamada Needle became more confused. Li Jexuan chuckles unpredictably. Use your body as a bait to catch a gold-swallowing fish. 3 days later, Li Jexuan and the crowd had arrived at the border between Konoha and Yunrin. If you have any good wine and food, please bring it to the uncle. Li Jexuan lay on the sofa in the pub, laughing domineeringly. But embarrassingly, other people only regarded his words as a joke. Even the maid who accompanied the guests joked, "Little cute, it's too early for you to come to this place. Go and buy a glass of milk next door." Hearing this, Li Jexuan arrogantly widened his eyes. Woman, what are you talking about? You are playing with fire. The arrogant Hyuga Yazuzu stood up fiercely. Be careful when you speak. Do you know who this adult is? Before the woman could speak, Yamada Junzun dressed in black sneered and said with a sneer, this is Li Jexuan who killed Feng Ying fighting alone. As soon as this word came out, the entire tavern was shocked. Then burst into a roar of laughter. Ha ha ha, I said you guys, pretend to be a little bit like. He is Konoha's ninja. He just killed Fuying. How come to our Union village? Besides, that kind of big man, why? Will you come to this kind of shop? Hearing this, Li Jexuan curled his lips. It's really a bunch of idiots. I can kill all of them in a fierce fight. Where can I go if the world is so big? But no matter what Li Jexuan says, the guests in the tavern just laugh. They just treat Li Jexuan and they are frustrated. However, there are always a few caring people who can see something. After a while, several men and women walked out of the tavern quietly. Seeing this, Li Jexuan grinned lightly, took out 100,000 taels, slammed the door and left. This is boring. Go, let's go to the next one. Seeing Li Jexuan making such a lavish move, many people were stunned for a while, and couldn't help muttering to themselves, this guy won't be a genuine guy. For a while, all kinds of extraordinarily rumors spread in Thunder Country. At the same time, in the gloomy sewers of the Land of Fire, a man covered in a cloak slightly frowned, tearing the information in his hand to pieces. In the restaurant named Juchi Rulan, there are sensual and stubborn sounds from the cracks in the door. Ha ha ha, another drink. Li Jexuan lay on the laps of the two young ladies and yelled, serve the uncle well, you will have a great reward. Standing on the side, Hyuga Yizu scratched his head with some worry. They have lived in such a sensual and boastful life for more than 20 days. If this continues, let alone fighting, I am afraid that they will not stand steady. Don't be stern, be good. As if drunk, Li Jexuan smiled and cursed with a blushing face, you must be happy when you come out to play. Go and find some sisters to be happy. Younger sister. Hyuga Yoshizu couldn't help but curl his lips. Where is there a younger sister here? Some of them are old enough to be their mothers. It's really boring. Li Jexuan smiled and waved, then turned and lay down in the arms of the beauties. Don't pay attention to him, let's continue playing. Ha ha ha. Seeing this, Hyuga Kazuo cautiously approached Yamada Junzun's ear, and said anxiously, Nejin, what can we do about this? Yamada Needle raised her brows in confusion. What should I do? Captain Yugen, he is eating, drinking and having fun. Seeing Yamada Junzun was not worried at all, Hyuga Yizu was almost crazy. The special task that has been agreed, is it to eat flower wine transnationally? As expected, Yamada Needle just smiled and shook his head slightly. Captain, he knows what he is doing, please wait quietly. Hyuga Yizu became angry for a while. Originally he wanted Yamada Junzun to persuade Li Jexuan together, but he didn't expect to get such an answer. Waiting. What are you waiting for? Can eating flower wine also improve ninjutsu cultivation? The setting sun. Another extravagant day passed. Li Jexuan wandered up from Gentle Township, took out 1 million and threw it on the table. Every day, it is really troublesome. I will pay 10 million in advance. Brother Li is grand. Master Li 666. Uncle, remember to order me next time, my name is Xiao Taohong. Li Jexuan left with a smile, and the drunk couldn't even walk smoothly. Fortunately, Hyuga Yizuo quickly hugged Li Jexuan up. Ha ha ha. The whole restaurant roared with laughter, and Xiao Taohong, who was previously named, even laughed and joked. Although Li Yi is young, it's very convenient to get drunk, so he hugs and leaves. Where can such a small child come to drink flower wine? When most people are this old, maybe they have just been weaned. Hyuga Yizu smiled awkwardly, and the group walked out of the restaurant. This little brother Li is so generous. Xiao Taohong smiled and took out tens of thousands of taels of rewards from her magnificent gap. Except for the table fee, the rewards are all tens of thousands of taels. The sisters on the side also reported today's reward. I am 5,000, I am 10,000, I am 15. These days, their sisters make more than half a year in the past. Xiao Taohong smiled and collected the money, and opened her lips in anticipation. I hope he can order me tomorrow. He can't come tomorrow. Suddenly, the old bastard of the restaurant walked out of the corner with a sneered sneer on his face. Tuba and they are already eyeing these little guys. Butcher. Speaking of this name, Xiao Taohong couldn't help but tremble. Tuba is a well-known bandit, not to mention the strength of Zongren. There are also a group of ninja men who specialize in looting for a living. Those little guys actually attracted the butcher. A little bit of unbearable flashes in Xiao Taohong's eyes. She wanted to do something, but she didn't dare to do anything. Seeing this, the old bastard couldn't help but smiled and shook his head. Little Taohong, kindness won't work in this world. Guck, I want to drink. Walking out of the restaurant, even in Hyuga Yizu's arms, Li Jexuan was not honest. turned over, and vomited a big mouthful of filth according to Hyuga's face, spraying Hyuga's whole person into a soup chicken. Please, this is my last dress. Hyuga Yizu sighed helplessly. These days, Lee Jexuan sprays him every day, and he is going out naked. If you can't drink, don't drink it. Hyuga Yizu handed Lee Jexuan to Yamada Junsham, and some helplessly took off his clothes, his white and delicate skin gleaming in the air. The cold wind blows, Hyuga Yizu shrank all over. So cold. Before the words fell, the window on the street was closed with a bang. Looking back, the sound of closing doors and windows was endless, and even the door of the previous restaurant was closed tightly. In just a few seconds, all the shops on the whole street closed their doors. This, Hyuga Yakuza widened his eyes in surprise. Is it just a test? Lee Jexuan raised his eyes slightly and closed them gently. The person he was waiting for has not yet appeared. But as soon as Lee Jexuan closed his eyes, a sharp shuriken shot out from the shadow of the street corner and went straight to Lee Jexuan's throat. But Lee Jexuan seemed to be really drunk. He closed his eyes and didn't move. He even hiccuped twice. Ding! Yamada Needle fends off the shuriken with kunai. Dozens of ninjas dressed as bandits emerged from every corner of the street. The leading bandit is 2 meters tall, and his strong body makes him look as terrible as a hill. Who are you? Hyuga Yosuke stretched out his hand to protect Lee Jexuan and Yamada Needle behind them. Protecting Lee Jexuan naturally does not need to be said. Protecting medical ninjas is also a policy that Lee Jexuan has long established. The little giant in the lead laughed and smashed the 3-meter-long mace against the ground, triggering a small earthquake. You duck, don't you even know this Uncle Butcher? Tuba laughed. He recognized Hyuga Yizu, who was not wearing a shirt, as the male publicist of Juchi Rulin restaurant. Quickly get out of the way, it's blocking the uncle's fortune, and even you were killed. Two boss men yelled and forced the past Asahi to Yizu. Duck, Hyuga Yazuki blushed and just wanted to do it. Benefit your feet, don't be impulsive, let's rush out of town first. Yamada Needle fiercely shot out more than a dozen kunai, forcing a small gap. Don't want to escape. Countless throwing ninjas flew towards Lee Jexuan like rain. Back to the days. The light blue chakra returned to the sky array, bounced all the throwing ninjas, and when the sky array disappeared, Yamada Needle escaped from the encirclement long ago. Huishin, white eyes. Two Ba's eyes widened fiercely. Is this the White Eyes? A child of the Konoha Hyuga family. Unexpectedly, this butcher still has some vision. Lee Jexuan kept his lips secretly. In fact, Tuba was originally a ninja from Union Village. But because he was a deserter during the war, he became a bandit who looted him. Because of the knowledge of the goods, Tuba is more excited. Regardless of a pair of white eyes on the black market, there is a full price of 30 million yuan. That Lee Jexuan had a ninja from the Hyuga clan as a guard, maybe he was the 2-year-old genius who killed Feng Ying. This is genuine. A thunder and lightning flashed across Tuba's mind. This guy's head is worth as high as 3 billion in the black market. 3 billion. Tuba couldn't help swallowing, as long as he could finish the ticket. He can even pull up a small country and become a king himself. Chase me, don't let them go. Tuba was completely crazy. He didn't take the rumors that Lee Jexuan killed Feng Ying at all. Just kidding, can a 2-year-old kid kill Feng Ying? It must be hype. Chapter 51. Outside the desolate town, the wind was even colder. But the heart of the day is very hot. Finally, are you coming? After waiting for so many days after getting the curse seal, Hyuga Yakuza finally had a stage to show off. As for the guy who called him Duck, he was added to the kill list by Hyuga Yizu. Ding. Trigger task. Suppress the bandits. The content of the mission. The tyrants of the butcher do all evil and kill countless people. It is the responsibility of every Konoha ninja to destroy these bandits. Task reward. Kill the leader of the tyrant. Reward 1 elementary treasure chest, 100 points. Suppress the entire bandit pair. 1 intermediate treasure chest, 500 points. Lee Jexuan picked up his eyes and was not moved at all. Such a little reward is not enough to move him. Only by enduring loneliness can you catch a big fish. Hyuga Tokuji paused slowly, guarding Yamada Junzun and Lee Jexuan behind. Yamada, you hide Captain Lee Jexuan with you, I will get rid of them soon. At this time, Tuba and the others also followed. You duck, your tone is quite big. Hyuga Yakuza couldn't help but the blue veins violently, has opened his eyes. Soft boxing 64-8 diagrams. Hyuga Yashik turned into a streamer and rushed towards the bandits. Faced with the speed of Hyuga Yizu elites, these ordinary bandits were knocked down one by Hyuga Yizu's gossip palms before they even had time to react. With a light palm, the chakra in the Bagua palm will destroy the opponent's meridians, and even the internal organs can be destroyed with a little effort. To deal with these nasty bandits, Hyuga Yizu didn't keep any hands. In just 1 minute, there were only 10 people left in the bandit team of more than 100 people. This is the gap between ninjas and ordinary people. Ha! Hyuga Yizu gasped slightly, and the remaining 10 people all had chakra. Although they were not ninjas, they were not easy to kill. Boss, get an idea. These 10 people are the confidants of Ba, and they have been careful to teach chakra over the years, and it is not completely ineffective. Give it to me, you have to kill him if you take the life pile. Although his subordinates were willing to retreat, but Ba didn't care. Raising soldiers for thousands of days and using soldiers for a while, Ba didn't care about the life and death of these men. As long as this boy with white eyes is dealt with, his grand plan is at hand. Although he didn't want to fight Hyuga Yizu, the remaining 10 people gritted their teeth and rushed towards him because of Ba's usual accumulation of power. Boy, go to hell. Earth done earth needle. Water done water gun. Huo done fire tongue. For a while, more than a dozen E-class ninjutsu rushed forward. Really ridiculous. Hyuga Masazu curled his lips disdainfully. You guys deserve to be called ninjas. Bagua palm back to heaven. Hyuga Yazuki turned around. He turned around again. The Hyuga family, do they have any other powerful tricks besides Huishin? Li Jexuan thought for a while, and couldn't help but curl his lips. It seems, there is really no more. Spin and jump, I close my eyes. He enjoys Hyuga Yoshizu, and the abundant chakra brought by the curse seal can keep him spinning. However, Earth escape Earth armor covered. Ba slammed his mace to the ground, and the mud instantly covered him, forming a layer of hard mud armor. Ha ha ha. Ba laughed over the solitary Hyuga Yizu, raised his mace and slammed it towards Li Jexuan. Hyuga Yizu, this fool. Li Jexuan couldn't help but curled his lips. This guy turned too rapturously, and let Ba over. The huge mace was swung down fiercely, and Yamada Junzun seemed to be frightened stupidly, standing still holding the drunk Li Jexuan. The mace was getting closer, and Li Jexuan was about to be smashed into meat sauce with Yamada Junshin. Ba grinned. He could already imagine what Li Jexuan would look like after his tragic death. It was really wonderful. 3 billion is so easy. However, a monster-like arm appeared abruptly and grabbed Ba's arm severely, letting him not move no matter how hard he tried. Who asked you to move, our captain? Swallowing monster. Jiaodu. My place, you have to listen to me. In the second stage of the curse, Hyuga Yizu turned into a demon. His pale and thin arms became hideous and powerful. The hideous demon wings on the back of the spine were slightly fanned to roll up a small tornado. What kind of monster is this? Ba's eyes widened fiercely, and he waved his other arm and slapped him towards Yizu. Snapped. The huge demon palm directly wrapped Ba's palm tightly. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't break free. Now, start spinning. Hyuga Yizu seems to have fallen in love with the rotation completely, and he tightly grasped Ba's 2 arms and spun wildly. Let me go. The strong centrifugal force brought a strong feeling of vomiting, making Ba feel that his heart was about to be thrown out. Oh, as you wish. Hyuga Yizu released his hand fiercely, and Ba slammed into the ground at a speed of 500 kilometers per hour. Boom. In the face of such overbearing power, the mud armor on Ba's body did not play any protective role. The neck was folded in too exaggeratedly, and the spine was broken and it was already dead and could no longer die. After all, he was just a ninja who fell among the bandits, and his strength was really not enough. After killing all the enemies, Hyuga Yazu thrust in his waist and laughed excitedly. I am really strong, these guys are not my opponent at all. But before the words fell, the ground suddenly exploded, and an octopus-like pitch-black tentacle tightly grasped Hyuga's ankle. At the same time, a man dressed in black and wearing a mask came out from the shadow of the rock, and there was a scar representing betrayal on Taki Shinobu's forehead. Finally caught the bait, the monster that swallows gold-horned capital. Seeing this, Li Jexuan couldn't help but grin, and the tasks in the system quietly changed. Trigger task: the chase of Jiaodu. Task content: escape from Jiaodu's subordinates and ascend to heaven. Survival is victory. Task reward: 5,000 points. Just escape and get 5,000 points, but what if you kill him? Li Jexuan's eyes narrowed involuntarily. Trigger mission: undead. Epic mission. Task content: kill the legendary corner of the immortal. Mission reward: 50,000 points, a shadow-level treasure chest. The reason why Li Jexuan has been waiting here for so many days is that this undead gold-swallowing monsters system offers a reward. 50,000 points, a shadow-level treasure box, is enough to make him stronger. What is this? The kung fu Li Jexuan was thinking about was subconsciously grasped by Hyuga Yizu, who was grasping the ankle with the grieving tentacles. No, before Li Jexuan's words could be spoken, the idiot Hyuga Yizu was entangled with grievances again. Ground grievance is the strongest secret technique in Taki no Shinobu village. As long as you are entangled with ground grievance, it is difficult to get out of it for a while. Ha ha ha, Jiaodu's horrible sneer is creepy. In this way, you can't escape. Wind escape crush. As a bounty assassin, horns are different from other mouth gun players. Seize any opportunity, he will do it without hesitation. There is no need for Jaeyin. The wind mask is like a living thing, moving to Jiaodu's chest, spitting out a giant tornado with amazing penetrating power. The terrifying tornado swept away all obstacles, even the hard rock was penetrated. It's over. Hyuga Yizu was entangled in grievances and couldn't get out for a while, but as long as he was hit by this trick, he would be dead. As Hyuga Yizu was in despair, a small figure suddenly appeared in front of him. See, hi, Shu. To escape to Lubi. Team leader. Hyuga Yizu was so touched that everyone was about to cry. He hugged Li Jexuan's thigh and screamed, I thought I was going to die, ooh. Poor Hyuga was beaten back to his original shape in less than 5 seconds. Li Jexuan kicked Hyuga Yizu into the air, curling his lips in disdain. Why cry for such a big man? Isn't it shameful? But, I'm really scared. This is the first time that Hyuga has faced death so close. Keep rolling, don't say it's my team member from now on. Li Jexuan kicked Hyuga Yizu flying, and the earth flow wall in front of him collapsed. At this time, Li Jexuan and Zhao both officially met. Jiaodu. Li Jexuan narrowed his eyes and sneered, you still couldn't hold it back. He did not hesitate to use himself and Hyuga as bait. Li Jexuan was to catch this gold-swallowing monster with preparation. You know me. Zhao frowned, and calmly retracted the grievances that had been buried in the ground. Of course I know, a powerful ninja who can survive against the first generation. Li Jexuan smiled and nodded. The immortal Zhao mode and the 8-door Dunjia opened at the same time, an undead monster who claims to live the same life as the world. Although it seems to be greeting each other, Li Jexuan and Zhao are secretly looking for each other's flaws. It's a pity that neither of them found a suitable space for a while. Impeccable. This is Li Jexuan's evaluation of Jiaodu. The powerful physique abilities of the tentacles and the rich corners are stronger than the strange powers when using tentacle punches. In addition, the other 4 masks represent 4 different chakra attributes. Whether it is physique or ninjutsu, it is impeccable. There are no loopholes. Jiaodu is also secretly frightened. The Jiao Xian Ren mode and Baman Dunjia are both full-scale ninjutsu. Whether it is chakra or power, it is not inferior to him. In the end, the horns still couldn't stand their temper and took the initiative. Water escape water curtain tent. The huge water curtain rushed towards Li Jexuan. Although it didn't seem to be lethal, it was full of pressure. Li Jexuan dodged and avoided. Such an attack was too low level for him. At his speed, these water curtains can do nothing but wet the ground. Water escape water curtain tent. However, Jiaodu kept using the water curtain to force Li Jexuan to evade. 10 minutes later, is this guy's chakra infinite? Jiaodu continued to spray a huge water curtain. Hyuga hid in the distance, dumbfounded. What a monster. Only the second state of curse seal made him completely lose his combat effectiveness. Compared with the same horn, he realized how weak the power he was proud of just now. It's almost time. Jiaodu nodded secretly. He has turned this land into a piece of Z country. In this way, his plan will be. But before he could do anything, Li Jexuan suddenly laughed loudly, almost, it's time. Okay. Zhao Du's eyes widened in confusion. Why did this guy steal my lines? Shen Mao ugly. Li Jexuan grinned and said, Zhao Lakey. The terrifying white thunder throbbed in Li Jexuan's palm, and the chakra power contained in it made heaven and earth pale, as if the whole world had become a silent studio. Too naive. Zhao Du sneered and stepped on the ground. At such a distance, he could easily dodge. Although this Zhao Lakey is strong, if he can't hit someone, it's just a joke. But at this moment, Li Jexuan laughed inexplicably. The pupils of both corners shrank sharply, instinctively aware of the danger. However, it's too late. Li Jexuan grinned, his palms turned sharply, and he thrust the thunder snake into the ground fiercely. Zhao Du, you are too naive. Zhao Lei Che. Thunder dancing wildly, countless terrifying white thunder snakes flashing between the sky and the earth, like a thunder that blasted everything. However, there was a figure strolling freely. Li Jexuan stepped slowly like the of thunder, walking towards the corners paralyzed by the thunder. I know, you want to use Lei Dun pseudo-darkness to trigger the accumulation of water on the ground. Li Jexuan said as he smiled, took out the grass pheasant sword, and stabbed Zhao Du's heart fiercely. Zhao Du's eyes widened in horror, not knowing whether it was because Li Jexuan told his plan or because of fear of death. Puff! Yanhong blood gushed out from Zhao Du's heart. Li Jexuan smiled and drew out the pheasant sword. Zhao Du's body fell straight to the ground. However, Li Jexuan did not leave. Instead, he held aloft the drafting pheasant sword and stabbed it fiercely. Also, the secret that you have 5 hearts, you think no one knows. Puff! The grass pheasant sword shattered Huo Dun's Anbu mask, piercing the heart hidden behind it. Now, the horns can't be put on anymore. A terrifying resentment monster slammed out of Zhao Du's body, grabbed Zhao Du's body and threw him out severely. If he doesn't leave this thunder zone, even if he has 100 hearts in the corner, it is not enough for Li Jexuan to kill. Li Jexuan stabbed the lonely separated Feng with a sword, and shook his head with a smile. As expected of Zhao Du, even in this situation, he is still so calm. In the case that the fire heart has died, it is the best choice to abandon the wind heart. Although the combination of Shui Zhao Lei is not the most powerful combination, but he has no choice. Because Li Jexuan's second sword directly killed the important fire attribute heart. After rushing out of thunder, Zhao Du had already reorganized his body. The suture monster-like body is daunting just by looking at it. Trouble. Zhao Du stared at Li Jexuan who was chasing him out, and couldn't help but shook his head secretly. This time he was too careless, because the opponent was too young to ignore a fact. If you only possess powerful ninjutsu and don't know how to fight, you can't kill Feng Ying. Guru. The grievances surging softly in Zhao Du's body. Do you want to escape? If only 2 hearts remain. I advise you, it's best not to think about running away. Li Jexuan slowly floated to the sky. The Zhao Shanren mode, which far surpassed the ordinary fairy mode, gave him a special power, flying. Unexpectedly, the horns who have always been proud of combat experience will fall into such a passive situation in the fight. It's really tricky. For the first time, Horn Du, known as the undead monster, had a ridiculous feeling. Is this 2-year-old a monster? Hateful. The horns opened their mouths fiercely. Shui Dun Water Dragon Bomb. But before the water dragon bomb rushed out of his mouth, a terrifying demon mask rose from behind Zhao Du, Lei Dun pseudo-darkness. The gray thunder and blue water dragon bombs merge in the air, turning into a terrifying fusion ninjutsu, Thunder Water Escape Pseudo-Dark Water Dragon Bomb. Seeing this, Li Jexuan couldn't help but grin secretly, as expected of Zhao Du. As long as it is hit by this one, no matter who it is will lose its combat effectiveness. However, if you can't hit someone, all this is meaningless. Li Jexuan returned this sentence to Zhao Du intact. Baman Dunjia Jingmun Open. At this moment, Li Jexuan's speed increased to an exaggerated level. His figure spanned nearly 100 meters with only a slight movement. In this state, even the pseudo-dark water dragon bullets that lock the attack don't want to catch him. Dark Thunder's water dragon bomb roared in the air, but in the speed competition, he could only follow Li Jexuan to eat his exhaust. Li Jexuan went around in a big circle, and recoiled back at the corner with a fake dark water dragon bullet. Return the body to the other way. Li Jexuan grinned lightly. Jiaodu, I have seen all your tricks thoroughly. How is it possible? Zhao couldn't help but feel an absurd feeling. This 2-year-old child seems to know himself better than he. After all, it's clear and clear in the anime. I have already seen your death, including. Tick, tick. Yanhong blood dripped slowly along the blade of the pheasant sword, and the horn's eyes widened in astonishment. Why? He didn't understand why Li Jexuan knew him well from the beginning of the battle. The whole battle was not so much a battle as a personal performance by Li Jexuan. All this seems to be in Li Jexuan's plan. Because you are too weak. Li Jexuan grinned and pushed the corpse whose horns were still warm to the ground. Until he died, the horns stared fiercely. He was unwilling. Li Jexuan curled his lips in disdain. This is Hokage world, and the dead can't keep secrets. Naturally, he would not reveal his biggest secret. Just die with peace of mind. The missions of escape from birth and death to death are completed. Reward: 55,000 points, 1 movie treasure chest. Obtained the title, Shattered Undead Elementary. The suppression of the bandits is complete. Reward: 600 points, 1 for each elementary and intermediate treasure chest. Title: Guardian of Justice Elementary. What a great reward. However, this task of eliminating bandits. He obviously didn't do it. Why is it counted? If the follower completes the task, it will also be calculated on the host. The system intimately prompts. Similarly, the follower can also trigger the task. Hearing this, Li Jexuan's eyes glowed involuntarily. If he develops a large number of followers, then spread out and complete the task. Even if it is a small task of 1 or 200 points, the accumulation of less and more, the high is no longer a dream. However, it is too difficult to have followers. Putting this idea aside for the time being, Li Jexuan couldn't wait to study this reward. A total of 60,000 points were obtained, and there were 3 treasure chests, namely Elementary, Intermediate and Shadow. Open the primary treasure chest without any accident, a bottle of energy potion. The intermediate treasure chest gave Li Jexuan a small surprise. The Mirror Ice Scroll, an A-grade inheritance scroll. The effect is similar to that of Rachel's scroll, but the grade has become A-grade. I have to say that this scroll comes at the right time. Although Li Jexuan's current strength is strong, most of them are based on the bonuses of the Immortal Jiao mode and the Baman Dunjia pairing technique. In addition to Lei Qi, Li Jexuan has no other high-level ninjutsu that can be used with it, and it may not be obvious to deal with miscellaneous fish. But this time against Jiaodu, some problems have been exposed. If it weren't for the intelligence advantage, facing the complex and changeable ninjutsu combination of that corner, only Lei Qi's Li Jexuan would easily fall into passiveness. Therefore, this magic mirror ice crystal scroll came at the right time. But the painful thing is, magic mirror ice crystal scroll, it needs to be used with ice drain blood and boundary. The system prompt made Li Jexuan hesitate. Bing Dun's blood succession boundary is not high-end in Naruto world, but the price in the mall is not cheap. To be precise, the cheapest blood relay limit in the entire mall costs 30,000 points, while the price of Bing Dun is 50,000. It's so dark. After thinking about it, Li Jia gritted his teeth and added Bing Dun to the shopping cart. Men, just be cruel to yourself. After the purchase was completed, most of the 60,000 points that I had just received were used almost all at once. System black is black, but the effect is equally powerful. As soon as Li Jexuan finished paying the money, a cold breath came out of Li Jexuan's limbs. Before he knew it, Li Jexuan had mastered Bing Dun's blood succession boundary. Just a light wave of the hand can inspire a bone-thin snow. In a sense, this ice escape blood continued boundary is somewhat similar to the ice fruit of the young girl in One Piece. However, the price of ice fruit is as high as 1 million. After just one glance, Li Jexuan gave up decisively. Poor system, isn't there any way to improve the blood succession limit? Li Jexuan complained casually. Who can understand the resentment of buying low-end goods because of no money? Li Jexuan was just complaining casually, but the system really gave a solution. Blood vein extraction syringe, perfect blood extraction. The price is 10,000 points. Seeing this, Li Jexuan almost did not hesitate to place an order. Soon, a needle with a thick arm appeared in Li Jexuan's hand. Character: Li Jexuan. Title: Shattered Undead. Blood vessel extraction syringe. Available times 5/5. You can only use it 5 times. Lee Jexuan couldn't help widening his eyes, and roared with dissatisfaction. This is completely consumer fraud. But think about it, the low price of only 10,000 yuan, if there is no use limit, it would be too exaggerated. But even if it can only be used once, it has already made a lot of money. Holding a syringe in hand, Lee Jexuan couldn't help being proud. What if the blood succession level is low? What if you can't afford high-end goods? After possessing Bingdun blood and following boundary, Lee Jexuan decisively tore open the scroll of magic mirror ice crystal. The familiar dizziness came, and Lee Jexuan's consciousness was once again drawn into the unknown world. White snow, the frozen lake reflects the cold light. On the shore of the lake, 2 figures, one big and one small, are fighting frantically. Bye, you must pay more attention to attacks on my acupoints. In the hands of those who do not cut, the terrifying decapitating knife tore the air fiercely like a missile, rolling up a burst of snow and flying. Yes, don't kill Mr. again. An immature voice came from under the little white mask. Although he was young, Bai Tong never let go of fighting again. The ice needle keeps hitting the important acupuncture points that will not be cut. As long as it hits a needle, the battle is over. But the battle became more and more intense, and the speed of not cutting it gradually increased, and Bai Bing needle became more and more difficult to shoot. Bai, don't catch the acupuncture points anymore, attack me directly. No longer snarled and swung the knife at Bai. He wants to inspire Bai's killing intent. As a ninja, if there is no killing intent, this is far from enough. If you don't kill Mr., I can't kill people. Bai gritted his teeth in pain, trying to dodge the decapitated broadsword. Even if the ice needle in his hand melted, he was unwilling to kill it again. If you don't kill me, I will kill you. Without cutting it, he slashed towards Bai. With this knife, it took full strength without cutting it. If Bai didn't make a move, this knife might really kill him. However, even so, Bai still refused to make a move, but shook his head in pain. I can't do anything to Mr. Not Beheaded, I don't want to kill. The painful memories of his childhood made Bai no longer bear the heart to kill, but this also became his biggest obstacle to becoming a ninja. In this world, there is no ninja who does not kill. If you can hide in this ice mirror, how good would it be? Looking at the calm ice surface under him, Bai couldn't help muttering to himself, I stun the magic mirror ice crystal. Nearly 100 ice mirrors flew up in the air. Bai's body was transformed into the ice mirror, and moved at high speed among hundreds of ice mirrors through the reflection of the mirror. Just because I didn't want to kill, I forced myself to create such a ninjutsu, hiding in the mirror, shuttle back and forth to avoid killing. White, Donzon's eyes widened in surprise, and then became gentle again. If you really don't want to kill, then forget it. Even if you are a ninja who can't kill, I will always be with you. Magic Mirror Ice Crystal. Lee Jexuan slowly separated from the illusion, and the A-level Magic Mirror Ice Crystal had quietly grasped. Unlike Lei Qi, the A-level Magic Mirror Ice Crystal can be used easily for Lee Jexuan now. After learning the Magic Mirror Ice Crystal, Lee Jexuan's strength has been greatly improved. But this kind of power is far from enough to save Qinshojianma in front of the Golden Horn and Silver Horn. So far, the only reward for killing Jiaodu is Shadow Level Treasure Chest. The golden treasure box that symbolizes wealth is dazzling. The big gold coin buckle in the middle of the box has 4 small blood red characters, Heaven and Earth live together. Guru. Lee Jexuan couldn't help but swallowed fiercely. As expected to be a monster of swallowing gold, the treasure chest in Jiaodu seemed to make people want to drool. Out of the box, with dazzling fluorescent flickering, Lee Jexuan's unpacking luck ushered in an unprecedented explosion. Ding. System upgrade patch. Blood fusion system. Ding. The secret technique of grievances. Ding. Primary Naruto experience scroll. 3 items have been exploded from the box all the time. Needless to say, the secret art of resentment is not to be said. The reason why Cao Du is called the undead ninja, this secret art of resentment occupies 50% of the credit. The junior Naruto experience scroll also made Lee Jexuan earn a lot of money. Only this blood fusion system makes people a little puzzled. Put the 3 blood vessels into the blood vessel fusion system, and a brand new blood vessel will be randomly generated. Lee Jexuan grinned involuntarily, This thing is exactly the same as the fusion system in the previous game, and the aura of cheating is exactly the same. It is random, but all fools know that it is nothing more than using 3 kinds of garbage bloodlines to exchange for a brand new garbage bloodline. In summary, it is useless. However, he doesn't even use this fusion system now. After all, there is only being done in his whole body. With that said, he now has only one choice. Benefit your feet, find a hotel, I want to retreat for a while. Li Jexuan grinned lightly. This time may be longer or shorter, but within 5 days, I will definitely come back. Retreat again. Juchi Rulin Restaurant. Yeah, Little Pink. Li Jexuan smiled and greeted, but Xiao Taohong trembled slightly as if she was very scared. You guys, why are you back? You want to ask, why are we not killed by the butcher? Hyuga Yakuza curled his lips in an angry manner. If these guys hadn't betrayed them, how could the bandits come to the door? Sorry. Little Taohong lowered her head in shame, tears filled her lovely big eyes. Hyuga Yizu wanted to get angry, but Li Jexuan stretched out his hand to stop him. This is not your fault, but if you really feel uneasy in your conscience, please find us 2 quiet rooms. Upon hearing this, Xiao Taohong burst into tears and smiled, and wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. Well, if you don't mind, you can go to our residence. 10 minutes later, Xiao Taohong led them to a huge house. The house is a bit old, but it is very clean. Look carefully, all kinds of women's underwear in the house are drifting with the wind, and from time to time, there are beautiful shadows of unclothed clothes swaying in the windows of the house. Here is. Li Jexuan's eyes widened involuntarily, he seemed to have come to an incredible place. This is the place where we women live together. Xiao Taohong smiled reluctantly. Don't worry, Junjia-zan, although we women from the wind and dust are noisy in the restaurant, but when we come back here, it is very quiet. Li Jexuan nodded his head to express understanding. After all, those women were just for a livelihood. Li Jexuan couldn't do the dirty thing when he lifted his pants. Xiao Taohong led him into a room, and the pink girl's arrangement looked like Xiao Taohong's boudoir. Here is for you. I'll just sleep with other sisters these days. Xiao Taohong exited the room shyly. This was the first time she brought a man back to her residence. Although, this is just a little man. After Xiao Taohong left, the smile on Li Jexuan's face gradually reduced, and he reached out and took out the scroll of experience from the system. Every time you practice, you must play 12 points. Although he has some self-protection capabilities now, if this scroll teleports him to the center of the 4th Ninja World War. With his current strength, Lord Six Daoban can kill him with one move. Slowly unrolling the scroll, Li Jexuan could only see a long bridge before he was sucked into the scroll. Bridge. Li Jexuan's mind quickly flashed through several famous bridge battles in Hokage. The Battle of Tiandichao, the desperate battle between Yue and Oshimaru. The Battle of the Gods and the Bridge, the Death with Soil, created the main story of Hokage. But when Li Jexuan landed, he couldn't help but grin bitterly. Is it here? The bridge shrouded in mist was only half completed, and Li Jexuan knew what plot he was involved in just by looking at it. In the first few words of Naruto, Nami Country's cross-sea bridge was commissioned by the bridge builder Dazna. Similarly, it's also a plot to Never Cut and White debut. For some reason, the Bing Dun bloodline in his body throbbed with excitement, and Li Jexuan couldn't help but smiled and shook his head. What a coincidence, all this. But where is the plot now? Li Jexuan looked around, but didn't find the boat Kakashi and the others were riding in, nor could he see a ghost on the reef where he was. Please, is this banishing me? Li Jexuan shook his head helplessly. The system didn't seem to place him next to the characters in the plot this time. For a while, he couldn't even determine the direction of the plot. At this moment, an angry scream came from my ear. Why are you hiding here? On the small wooden boat, the arrogant yellow hair brandished his sword angrily. He would be sent out in such weather, all because of the nasty guy in front of him. Ground ruffian. Thinking of this, Li Jexuan chuckled and shook his head. I'm a ninja, I'm here to take refuge in Lord Cardo. Master Cardo, this kid says he is a ninja and wants to take refuge in you. Huang Mao eagerly asked Cardo for credit, but he brought a ninja to Cardo. Stupid guy, Cardo snarled furiously. You say that a ninja is such a little old child. How dare you bring a stranger back, you really know how to live and die. With that said, the two samurai men of Cardo wanted to kill Huang Mao and Li Jexuan with their swords. Ding! Li Jexuan pinched the samurai's long knife, and the hard ice covered Li Jexuan's hands like a layer of crystal armor. Ninjutsu. Cardo's eyes widened in surprise. He didn't expect that this kid was really a ninja. And it's Konoha ninja. You know, Konoha is the most powerful shinobu village in the world. Why would such a genius ninja defect from the village and join him? Mr. Cardo don't need to think too much. Li Jexuan grinned and said, it's just that among the ninjas who are against you this time, there is a guy the first don't like. Ninja. Cardo was shocked, his face immediately turned very ugly, gritted his teeth and said, that fellow Dazna actually went to Konoha. Hearing this, Li Jexuan couldn't help but stunned. It seems that the story has just begun. Dishonor may be submitting tasks in Konoha. After realizing this, the task appeared. Faction mission. Destroy the bridge or guard the bridge. The task of destroying the bridge. Kill Dazna, destroy the entire bridge, and destroy the people of Poland who resist the desire. The rewards are primary treasure chest, intermediate treasure chest, and advanced treasure chest. The task of guarding the bridge, protecting Dazna, completing the construction of the bridge, and arousing the desire of the people of Poland to resist. Reward, primary treasure chest, intermediate treasure chest, advanced treasure chest. This is the first time that there is a task that can choose the camp. The mission of recovering Sasuke last time, but there is no other choice. After Sasuke died, the mission automatically failed. Li Jexuan only hesitated for a while, and decisively chose the task of destroying the bridge. Destroying is easier than guarding, and more importantly, Li Jexuan is not a stickler. I want to see you again. Li Jexuan smiled and nodded towards Kato, and made his own request. Half a day later, Li Jexuan really saw no more Slash for the first time, and bye. Konoha's ninja, what are you looking for me for? No longer sluggishly leaning on the sofa, the horrible beheading knife seemed to lie on one side randomly, but the muscles of the whole body were already tense. This guy is scary. No more slashing secretly to the white hair. Li Jexuan is definitely one of the strongest ninjas he has ever seen. Even more, he seemed to smell that terrifying breath in Li Jexuan's body. That one person beat them to the terrible horror. It's nothing, I just want to complete your commission together. Li Jexuan smiled and shook his head, looking comfortable. With the strength of the 7 ninja blades, it is not enough to pose a threat to him. My uncle won't give you money. The more arrogant he doesn't show, the more guilty he will actually be. I don't need money, I just want to borrow this little brother for a use. Li Jexuan smiled and pointed to the white who was standing aside. With the help of this little brother, I will definitely be able to get rid of the group of Konoha ninjas. Bye, he won't kill anyone. No longer squinting his eyes, the decapitation knife in his hand is about to move. If Li Jexuan dared to push by, he would immediately do it. However, Li Jexuan sneered, I can do things like murder. But there are some things that only Bai can do. I am the super elite ninja who will become Naruto sooner or later. Naruto yelled in front of Konoha's door. This represents the plot of the Country of Waves has officially begun. The sea-level mission is an ordinary mission that will never encounter a ninja. Kakashi stood the flag solemnly, not caring about Dazna, who had an ugly face. Because of the existence of ordinary people, the group of people in Class 7 just walked quietly among the woods without speeding up. In the quiet woods, according to the plot, here should be the box lunch of the Misty Ghost brothers, but... Help! Help! The young girl's cry for help suddenly rang in the woods. In the face of this situation, even though Dishonor is reluctant, the 7th class of justice is going to find out anyway. Pulling aside the woods, the lovely girl is being violated by bandits, and her 3-year-old brother is also caught in his hands by bandits. Seeing this, Kakashi hardly hesitated and rushed forward to rescue the girl. For guys who like to watch the intimacy of heaven, saving girls must be a priority. Don't come here, I'll choke this kid to death. The bandit's companion squeezed the 3-year-old child fiercely, and looked vigilantly, why are you ninjas nosy? At this moment, the 3-year-old child suddenly opened his mouth and bit at the bandit's hand. Oh, it hurts me. The bandit involuntarily let go of his hand, and in the next second, Sasuke's kunai has penetrated his neck. Brother Gia is on. Seeing her younger brother rescued, the beautiful girl could no longer control herself, rushed forward and hugged Lee Jexuan. I will never let you go again. Moved, the eyes of Haruno Sakura and Naruto were already full of tears. Kakashi stared calmly. What's going on? Why are these bandits hunting you down? My name is Lee Bai, and this is my brother Lee Jexuan. Bai looked sad and wiped his tears with his sleeves. My family originally settled in the country of fire, but because of the bandits, my parents died, and only my brother and I were dependent on each other. Woohoo! Haruno Sakura and Naruto are already crying, and fools are so easily emotional. Then what are you going to do next? Kakashi's dead fish eyes still showed no fluctuations. Before our parents were dying, they let us go to the uncle in the country of Paws. I was going to take my brother over, but these bandits happened to find out. Bai looked sad and sobbed. If it weren't for meeting you, I'm afraid we too. Haruno Sakura almost blurted out. We are also going to the country of Nami, let's go with us. Hearing this, Kakashi frowned. Ninja missions shouldn't be extravagant, let alone reveal the location of the mission. However, the siblings did not see any flaws. Okay. Kakashi finally nodded in agreement. Seeing this, Lee Jexuan grinned involuntarily. After all, Kakashi is just a naive and good person. But what people didn't expect was that Dasna suddenly stood up and refused with a panic. No, you can't let them go with me. Grandpa, why? Lee Jexuan's eyes widened, and he looked at Dishonor with a puzzled look. Because. Dasna struggled for a long time, but finally let go of his hand with a sullen expression. Because he has been targeted by the terrible ninja. But he can't say, once he says it, his country is over. Lee Jexuan curled his lips in disdain, a boring conscience attack. The fog is permeated, and the country of Bo is an island country shrouded in clouds for many years. The mighty fleet sailed on the sea, slowly approaching Dasna and his group. Seeing such a fanfare, Dasna's eyes widened vigilantly. You are crazy. Why are you making such a big noise? The leader of the wooden boat smiled and replied, Don't worry, Dasna, the Cardo group has not been making trouble for many days. What? Dasna's eyes widened in surprise, and he muttered to himself in disbelief, how is it possible? That greedy guy just gave up like this. Hearing this, Kakashi couldn't help frowning. Mr. Dasna, what is going on? 10 minutes later, like the original plot, Dasna told the truth about the country of Poland. But what is different from the original plot is, before the small 7 class started, Carduo seemed to have given up. I'm sorry for deceiving you. Dasna bowed to everyone in class 7 with an apologetic look. In order to express my apologies, please come to my house and let me treat you well. Obviously, Dasna was still a little worried. He was afraid that this was just Cardo's mitigation. Ha ha ha, uncle, don't worry. Naruto proudly touched his Konoha forehead and laughed like a fool. That card must be the name of our Konoha ninja, so he ran away in fear. Up. Hope so. Dasna's eyes were a little moist, and they had already paid too much for this bridge. But, will it really be that simple? Lee Jexuan, who fell at the end, couldn't help but grin slightly. Sometimes, things will always develop in the worst direction. Dasna took the group of people from class 7 back to his home as in the plot, and then told the story of his son-in-law's murder in order to resist Dasna. This attracted the sympathy of the 7th class and expressed that they will protect Dasna here until the bridge is built. The old and cunning Dasna has been using Naruto's sympathy. What is unexpected is that the following days will be surprisingly calm. There is no ninja war, no conspiracy and tricks, and even a hooligan has never seen it. Another peaceful day, the dinner table of Dasna's house. It's so boring. Naruto jumped up and down, like a monkey, refusing to calm down. Kakashi, who was looking at the intimate paradise, shook his head helplessly. Naruto, have you learned how to climb the tree a few days ago? Right, climb the tree. Naruto turned his head sharply to look at Sasuke. Sasuke, do you want to compare? Who wants to compare with your crane tail? Sasuke curled his mouth dismissively, but 5 minutes later, in the chakra forest, 2 very different young boys were running wildly on the tall trees. Tsunere, it really is a common problem in the Uchiha family. The plot, has it begun? Lee Jexuan sneered secretly, gently pulling on the white clothes. Sister, my arm is bruised. Kakashi glanced casually and found that Lee Jia's white and tender little arm was really red and swollen. I have ointment here. Dasna smiled and took out the ointment, but Bai smiled and waved, took out a basket and said, I'll go pick some herbs. Because Li Bai's sister and brother don't like to trouble others, Dasna didn't take it seriously either. It was Kakashi's sluggish fisheye that couldn't help but cast aside Li Jexuan. I don't know why, he always feels that this child, very dangerous. However, a 2-year-old child. Kakashi shook his head, just as if he was worried, and returned his gaze to the intimate heaven in his hand. At this moment, Bai, who walked out of the room, beckoned gently, and a white dove landed on his palm. Go ahead, follow the plan. In the morning, the dew has just soaked the branches and leaves. Uncle Dasna went to supervise the construction of the bridge as always, and Haruno Sakura raised her eyebrows suspiciously at the dinner table. Where is brother Bai? Li Jexuan smiled and raised his arm. My arm is not good yet, my brother is going to pick herbs. It's a quiet and peaceful day. Haruno Sakura stretched out comfortably. There is no man who looks more cute than him, and Naruto who is not in the way, only her Sasuke. This is really happy. But at this moment, the big thing is bad. A villager who built a bridge stumbled into the house, his eyes widened in horror. Cardo's men grabbed Dasna, and they are going to blow up the bridge. Sakura, Sasuke, let's go. Kakashi deserves to be Konoha's upper endurance. He rushed out of the house without a hassle and hurried towards the bridge in the mist. When all three of them left, Li Jexuan smiled and stood up. The show has already started, it's up to you next, bye. According to the original plot, Kakashi and Sasuke Sakura headed to the bridge, and at this time they should fight with Nozawa and Shiro. Beheaded with a big sword, don't you cut it again. Kakashi frowned solemnly and tore off the mask on his left eye. We are ghost brothers, but the ghost brother who didn't give away his head jumped out from no more killing, taking the place of Bai. The plot changed as a result, and the battle was on the verge. And Naruto, lying in the dense woods at this time, the tall trees are getting higher and higher, indicating that this guy has been practicing here all night. Slowly, Naruto opened his eyes. Li Bai, brother. Bai smiled gently. You will catch a cold when you sleep here. Naruto looked at Bai in surprise, and scratched his head shyly. Although Li Bai is an older brother, he is even more cute than Sakura no matter how he looks. I'm picking herbs here. Bai smiled and raised the herbal medicine basket. Naruto-kun, do you want to help? Okay. Naruto nodded almost without thinking, pouting his to help pick the herbs. At the same time, on the misty bridge. Why isn't Naruto coming? Sakura grumbled dissatisfiedly. It would be too dangerous to let Sasuke fight alone. But Sasuke is so handsome. Fire escaped the art of fireball. Sasuke alone played the ghost brother who is zongen between his palms, and Kakashi steadily suppressed it again. If this continues, it will only be a matter of time before the defeat of others is cut. Don't cut it again, surrender. Kakashi believes that the outcome is set, and even if he is not cut, there is still a certain gap compared with him. But at this moment, a small figure ran far away at the end of the bridge. It's not good. Inari was taken away by Cardo's people. Li Jexuan panicked, his pale little face was covered with blood. What? Haruno Sakura's eyes widened in surprise, gritted her teeth and roared, what is that idiot Naruto doing? I don't care about Naruto's idiot. Haruno Sakura reached out and hugged Li Jexuan in her arms. Jexuan, you show me the way, I'll save Inari. Li Jexuan smiled and jumped into Haruno Sakura's arms. Time and space kunai pierced Haruno Sakura's chest. Puff. Haruno Sakura's eyes widened suspiciously, and everything in front of her eyes seemed to gradually lose color as the blood splashed. What's wrong with me? Sakura. Sasuke and Kakashi's eyes widened in shock. They didn't understand what was going on. But for masters, a second of hesitation may change the outcome. Fight against this uncle, but I didn't give you the time to distract you. No longer snarled, his palm printed, Shui Dun Water Dragon Bomb. The ferocious water dragon leapt into the sky and roared. Boom! Haruno Sakura fell to the ground feebly, vomiting blood clots, and died soon. Li Jexuan curled his lips in disdain. Although Haruno Sakura was an important figure in Naruto, her body was of no value to Li Jexuan. Haruno Sakura, who was born as a commoner, is not to say that she is the limit of blood, even the talent of ninjutsu is very mediocre. Such a corpse is not worth consuming his precious syringe. When Haruno Sakura was seriously injured and dying, the chakra forest was still peaceful and peaceful. Brother Lee Bai, is this herbal medicine? Looking at the swaying dog's tail grass in Naruto's hand, Bai smiled softly. It's a very important herbal medicine, Naruto, you are really a genius. Ha ha ha, Naruto laughed like a fool. If that's the case, let me catch all these guys. Quote. The technique of multiple shadow clones. Naruto, who was all over the mountain, appeared with a laugh, and uprooted all the dog's tail grass. What a fool. Bai kneaded the dog's tail grass into a ball, and shook his head in doubt. That terrible child, why should I hold Naruto? What is so special about this fool? Special place. He is special because he is the protagonist, and a 9-tailed demon fox of super shadow level lives in his body. Brother Ghost, you leave. Lee Jexuan walked towards Sasuke with a sneer. In the whole story, Sasuke seemed to be on par with Naruto, but the identities of the two have never been equal. Presumably, Sasuke was also aware of this. Only then resolutely left Konoha and plunged into the darkness. Because he understands that if you continue to stay in Konoha, one day, he will be left behind by Naruto. Naruto seems to be alone, but half of the 9-tailed legacy is not unprofitable. With Kyuubi, how many tough battles has Naruto won? Unexpected Mischief Ninja has terrible power to break the situation. In other words, just open Naruto. That's all for the small 7th class. The two ghost brothers retreated, leaving only Lee Jexuan and Sasuke. Who are you? Sasuke stared at Lee Jexuan coldly, thinking crazy about the countermeasures in his little mind. However, a space-time kunai flashed by like an electric light, and Sasuke didn't even have time to react, and one ear was cut. This kunai, he deliberately voted too far. Sasuke's eyes widened in horror, he couldn't see clearly, the speed of that kunai. Don't be distracted, Lee Jexuan sneered, and threw the dying Haruno Sakura in front of Sasuke. Your companion is here. If you have the patience, come and save her. No, Sasuke gritted his teeth tightly. He knew very well that if he dared to move a step now, kunai would definitely penetrate his head. This time, Lee Jexuan will not miss the shot. Saskatchewan, I am to you. Haruno Sakura stretched out her hand to Sasuke in the blur, calling his name affectionately, wanting to tell something. Noisy. The sharp time and space pierced Haruno Sakura's throat, and Lee Jexuan sneered disdainfully. Love, let's leave it to talk. Cruel, extremely cruel. Is this kid the devil? The ghost brother's eyes widened in horror, and even the one who was called a ghost frowned if he didn't cut his eyebrows. He didn't understand why Lee Jexuan would torture his opponent like this. However, I'm looking forward to it, Sasuke. Lee Jexuan smiled and squinted his eyes. As the reincarnation of Indra, what kind of blood will you provide me in the future of the kaleidoscope riding wheel? Puff. If you haven't said it, there will be no time to say it again. Haruno Sakura's heart stopped beating completely. At this moment, Sasuke was stunned, as if he had lost some of the most important things in his life. What followed was extreme anger. Sakura, the blood-red Go Jade was born. 1, 2. Does Schwanguyu write round eyes? Lee Jexuan shrugged helplessly. It's not bad, but it's a pity that after all, it didn't reach the point where Dajian Muyuya has 3 Guyu Jade in a lifetime. I want you to die. Sasuke raised his head coldly, and Schwanguyu's riding wheel turned. My eyes have seen everything through. Oh, Lee Jexuan sneered and curled his mouth. In the next second, the immortal Jiao mode and the 8-door Dunjia injury door opened at the same time, and the chakra rising into the sky formed a horrible smoke column. Now, can you still see clearly? Where is that time and space? Sasuke's eyes widened blankly, but Liang Guyu's riding wheel could not catch anything. But he can feel that death is approaching. I can't die yet, I haven't killed that man yet. As Sasuke roared, a new round of Guyu slowly emerged from the 2 Guyu's riding wheels. However, at this moment, Kakashi unexpectedly appeared in front of Sasuke, and the combination of Senguyu's riding round eyes was fierce, kaleidoscope riding round eyes. Under the pupil power of the kaleidoscope riding wheel eyes, everything will have nowhere to hide. Ding! Kakashi swung his dagger, easily blocking time and space kunai aside. This is kaleidoscope riding round eyes. Lee Jexuan smiled and nodded. As expected, it is you, Kakashi, who has hidden so deeply. Kakashi clutched his bleeding left eye, gritted his teeth and grinned bitterly. His kaleidoscope was opened when Lin died, but he, who is not from the Uchiha clan, can only barely open his eyes. Not bad. Li Jexuan nodded in satisfaction. With this kaleidoscope, it is finally worth the fare. Who are you? Kakashi tightly guarded Sasuke behind him. This is the last blood of the Uchiha family. Even in order to bring dirt, he must protect him. It's a boring question, Kakashi. Li Jexuan shook his head with regret. You who once cut thunder, are dragged down by this riding wheel. Li Jexuan has never forgotten that the genius boy who cut through the lightning alone in the thunderstorm night. Kakashi, Konoha, and even the first genius in the history of ninja. Konoha White Fang's son was enough to cut thunder's sharp blade. However, because a riding wheel eye that continuously consumes a lot of chakras, it has become a sad existence calculating the reserves of chakras. For the reason you taught me a trick, you can die cleanly. Teach you a trick. Li Jexuan slowly Jayan. Shenmao ugly. The copy of Zhuanyan transmits all this to Kakashi's eyes. This is Rachel. Kakashi's eyes widened in horror, and his hands couldn't help but Jayan. Shenmao ugly. This is the first time Kakashi, known as the copy ninja, has copied his own ninjutsu on someone else. Zetsu. The dark blue thunder is condensed in Kakashi's hands. Every time Kakashi uses this trick, Kakashi has the confidence to win. Because this is the brilliance of his cutting through the lightning. But this time, the pale white thunder twisted into sharp blades in the air, and the horrible breath was like a black hole that swallowed everything, bringing the deepest death and despair. Rei Che, Zhao Lei Che, two figures, one large and one small, started almost simultaneously. After a tenth of a second, the pale blue arc and pale thunder collided in midair. At that moment, the dazzling white glow exploded, as if the entire world had lost its color, and the violent roar made everyone lose their hearing. Zetsu. When everything returned to its original color, Li Jexuan and Kakashi quietly exchanged positions. But the dark blue thunder stopped, the pale white thunder still beating slightly in Li Jexuan's hands. Bring soil, Lin. Two familiar faces appeared in Kakashi's eyes. He lowered his head slightly. His chest was penetrated by the terrifying Zhao Leiki, and his scorched internal organs were exposed in the air. Sorry. Leaving a final apology, Kakashi crashed to the ground. The blood of Konoha White Tooth. Li Jexuan took out the syringe without anyone else. This kind of existence is worth my injection. The transparent thick syringe plunged into Kakashi's body, twitching lightly, as if thunderous light blue blood filled the syringe with 1/5 of the scale. What are you doing? No longer frowned and came to Li Jexuan's side. The decapitation knife was pointed straight at Li Jexuan. Although it is an enemy, Kakashi is my respected opponent. A piece of pork dared to accuse human beings of handling ingredients. What did you say? Don't cut his eyes wide in surprise. Zetsu. The pheasant sword attached to the pale white thunder will not cut the hole into two. HMPH, I knew you had a problem. The real body, who didn't cut it, slowly walked out of the fog. It turned out that the pheasant sword cut only the water body. Oh, Li Jexuan smiled and curled his lips. It seems that you are confident to solve me. Of course. Don't cut the seal of both hands again. Mist hidden silent killing technique. The thick fog gradually raised Li Jexuan's sight completely, and even the movement of chakra was affected. However, you can use the fog to move instantaneously in the thick fog without cutting it. I have to say that such a weird killing technique really looks impeccable. Li Jexuan smiled and curled his lips. Unfortunately, it is still too weak. Since you can't break this dense fog, you will defeat it. It's useless, the dense fog here can't be blown away by the wind. He laughed without confidence. However, who said I'm going to use the wind? Li Jexuan sneered and rose to the sky, clenching his fists, Baman Dunjia Jingmun open. Toward the peacock. The horrible fists were swung out for a moment, the violent power ignited the air, and the flame fists like peacock feathers surged around, gradually. The dense fog is gone. How is this possible? No longer did not dare to believe his eyes widened. The sorrow of the weak. Li Jexuan curled his lips in disdain. Maybe this murder technique in the mist was weird enough, but after all, it was not powerful. With the peacock's fist flame, all the moisture in the air is directly evaporated, and the fog will naturally dissipate. Poor. Never go to school anymore. Fog is the product of water combined with dust. Zhao Lei Che. When the thunder pierced through the body without cutting, a heart-piercing voice rang. No more Mr. Cut. Bye. Arrived. Has Naruto come yet? Lee Jexuan squinted his eyes. In this case, he must speed up the rhythm. Taking off the beheading broadsword from the hand that would not be beheaded, Lee Jexuan went straight to Sasuke. Liang Guyu's riding wheel eyes and Indra's blood, he could not give up, however. Ice Dun Magic Mirror Ice Crystal. Hundreds of ice mirrors blocked Lee Jexuan's path, and Bai crazily poured ice needles toward Lee Jexuan in the ice mirror, and every needle went straight to Lee Jexuan's vitals. Look, can't you kill people now? Lee Jexuan waved his hand to smash the ice needle, smiled and shook his head. You could have survived, it's a pity. If Bai stayed with Naruto all the time, Lee Jexuan could only give up his ice escape and follow the limit. But after all, she can't let go and not cut. Die me. Bai flickered wildly in the ice mirror, attacking Lee Jexuan unscrupulously. Do you think you killed me? The sharp ice needle hit the immortal Zhao Ren's scales, nothing changed except for the shallow white mark. Demon, as long as I trap you, Naruto will be here soon. Bai Lang smiled and flashed in the ice mirror, trying to delay time. Hearing this, Lee Jexuan smiled and shook his head. Bai, you are as naive as you are not cutting again. What? Ice Dun Magic Mirror Ice Crystal. Lee Jexuan smiled at Jaeyin, and escaped into Bai's ice mirror, grabbing Bai from the ice mirror. No, how is this possible? Bai Yuan thought he was already the last ice escape bloodline in the world. This world, nothing is impossible. Lee Jexuan twisted his white neck coldly, and used a syringe to draw a mark of ice blue blood. Next, only Sasuke is left. For some reason, there always seems to be a force delaying Sasuke's death. Is this the protagonist's fortune? Lee Jexuan sneered and squeezed Sasuke's neck. Even if there is no secret door in the body, the death of other people will be used to delay time. But, does it make sense? Lee Jexuan broke Sasuke's neck decisively. It seems that the protagonist's fortune is not exaggerated to the point of illogical. Lee Jexuan smiled and took out the syringe, just about to draw Sasuke's Indra blood. An extremely dangerous breath suddenly surged into my heart. This is... Lee Jexuan turned around fiercely. At some point, the terrifying nine-tailed demon fox had already emerged from Naruto's body. I think it was Sasuke's death that completely inspired Naruto. In the mouth of the nine-tailed monster fox, the annihilating tail beast Jade is ready to go. Is that so? At this time, Lee Jexuan suddenly realized. It turns out that this world is not protecting Sasuke, but the Indra bloodline in Sasuke's body. Sasuke can die, his blood cannot be broken. That's why the last time Oshimaru captured Sasuke's body so smoothly. Even though Sasuke died, Indra's blood is still in Oshimaru's body. The situation is obvious now. If he continues to draw blood, he will be bombarded and killed by the tail beast Jade. But if he stops drawing and avoids the tail beast Jade. After a little delay, 6 immortals descended and pinched him to death. Lee Jexuan would not be surprised. The 6 immortals did not appear now, all because in the calculations of this world, the blood of Indra would not be lost. Whether it was the first option or the second option, Lee Jexuan could not take his blood. Because, in the first option, even if Lee Jexuan draws blood, the person is dead and the blood is not lost. The second option, the 6 immortals directly pinched Lee Jexuan to death, and naturally he would not lose it. People often say that people are not as good as heaven. But this time, you are the only one who made a mistake. Lee Jexuan sneered towards the sky. Little master, I am not from this world. Draw. The weird purple blood poured into the syringe, and it stopped slowly after filling a full mark. The tail beast Jade that annihilated everything came and, together with Lee Jexuan, completely destroyed the entire bridge. Although Lee Jexuan is dead, the system prompt will not deceive. Indra bloodline latent. When Lee Jexuan recovered, the terrifying 9 tails disappeared, and the tail beast Jade that annihilated everything no longer existed. The only thing left was this needle tube filled with blood succession boundary. The dark blue Bing Dun bloodline shook gently. Lee Jexuan picked up the needle and stuck it on his neck without any hesitation. Pushing slowly, dark blue blood slowly poured into Lee Jexuan's body. At this moment, the 2 bloods of the same root and the same origin merge into one with the boundary. Ha! The icy cold air involuntarily gushed from Lee Jexuan's mouth, turning the entire room into ice sculptures. slowly opened his eyes. The ice blue light flickered. Li Jexuan gently opened his hand, and a delicate ice flower slowly grew. Both the strength of Bingdun and his control over Bingdun have been far more than doubled. If Bingdun was originally just the bottom line of blood in the world of Naruto, now it has been upgraded to Junmaro's level. The strength of the ninja level. With Bingdun alone, Li Jexuan possesses the terrifying power of the upper level. In addition, the remaining blood is Kakashi's white tooth blood. It contains the understanding of thunder and sword. One more stitch. Slowly pushing the light blue thunder blood into his body, Li Jexuan frowned slightly involuntarily. The thunder in the blood and the sharp sword intent seemed to be cutting his body, and intense pain followed. Even if it is a perfect bloodline drawn by the system, it is still impossible to completely avoid rejection between different bloodlines. After a full 10 minutes, Li Jexuan slowly opened his eyes. There seemed to be a twisted arc in the ice blue eyes, as well as sharp sword lights. Next is the most important Indra bloodline. Kakashi's bloodline rejection alone is already so painful. If it is the blood of Indra, it is hard to imagine what kind of feeling it is. Hold back the courageous, starve the cowardly. Li Jexuan raised the syringe and pierced it fiercely against his neck, and strange purple blood slowly poured into Li Jexuan's body. It was as if the pain of a nuclear bomb exploded violently, as if every nerve had been cut open and shattered. When the purple blood in the syringe disappeared, Li Jexuan completely lost consciousness. 1 day, 2 days. Outside Xiao Taohong's boudoir, Hyuga Yizu walked back and forth in a hurry. Needle, you said it's the 5th day now, why isn't the captain coming out? Hyuga shook his head severely in a panic. Captain, he won't suffer any accidents. Yamada Junzun frowned and murmured a little. He did notice several alien chakras, ice, thunder, and the ultimate sword intent a few days ago. The fusion of so many weird alien chakras does not seem very good. Waiting for an hour, if the captain doesn't come out, we will go in and have a look. Yamada Needle made a final decision. But at this moment, don't wait. With a squeak, Li Jexuan opened the door and walked out in a stride. Captain, you are all right. Hyuga Yizu exclaimed in surprise. Now Li Jexuan is not only his captain, but also his master. The impact of the heavenly curse seal is not only an increase in strength. What can I do? Li Jexuan grinned and exuded a strong confidence. Seeing this, Yamada Needle's eyes widened involuntarily. He could feel that Li Jexuan became stronger and stronger. Even more terrifying is, where is Xiao Taohong? Li Jexuan raised his eyebrows with some doubts, did not see Xiao Taohong. Li Jexuan was a little surprised. He destroyed her room completely and must pay some compensation. She is going to work today. It seems there are important things related to her future work. A very important thing. Li Jexuan raised his eyebrows and smiled with interest. Then we will go and cheer her up. In Li Jexuan's impression, the most important thing for the singer is to compete for the Oran. Without wasting time, Li Jexuan naturally didn't mind to cheer her up. Xiao Taohong's dormitory is actually not far from Juchi Rulan restaurant, just a few steps away. From a distance, Li Jexuan heard a noisy voice coming from the restaurant. Sure enough, to fight for the Oran. Many crossing bosses have encountered such a thing before, throwing a lot of money for their favorite geisha and holding him as the Oran. Unexpectedly, I can also encounter this kind of elegant thing today. No, something is wrong. Listen to the sound of tables and chairs collapsing and wine glasses cracking. Li Jexuan frowned involuntarily. This does not seem to be a fight for the Oran. You guys who don't see the coffin and don't shed tears, if you don't make up the share this time, you won't be spared. Several men dressed as wandering warriors severely chopped the furnishings of the wine house with their long swords. The leading old bastard has been beaten to blood, and the geishas only dared to shiver in the corner. At this moment, Xiao Taohong stood up. Although she was also very scared, she still shouted word by word, "We have obviously paid the money, and we will give you no more money." Hearing this, the leading wandering warrior sneered and stood up. You woman is so courageous, do you know who you are talking to? This is the tax that Lord Silverhorn wants. The wandering warrior sneered and drew out the sword. You dirty tricks, it is already Lord Silverhorn's gift to keep you alive, and you still want to steal the adult's wealth. Die me. The sharp sword pierced the air, and Xiao Taohong closed her eyes in despair. But after waiting for a long time, the long sword could not pierce her throat. He slowly opened his eyes in confusion, and a small figure stood in front of her. Although this figure is small, at this moment, he is the most majestic man, like a sky, holding up her hope. Jia Xuanjun, little Tao Hong exclaimed. She couldn't think that Li Jexuan would come to rescue her. Sorry, I'm late. Li Jexuan showed a warm smile towards Xiao Taohong. You kid, let me go. The samurai flicked a few times, but he couldn't pull the sword out of Li Jexuan's hand. Tick, blushing blood dripped slowly from Li Jexuan's palm. Before opening the immortal Zhao Ren mode, even a samurai sword could barely pierce his skin. It's really embarrassing. Li Jexuan smiled brightly. Just after returning from retreat, he was scratched on his palm by an ordinary person. How can this be good? Seeing this, Hyuga could not help but shudder. This is the first time Li Jexuan is so angry. These guys are over. Boy, what are you talking about? The leading wandering warrior yelled at his subordinates angrily. You idiots, what are you looking at? Why don't you kill this kid? Hearing the boss asking for help, the wandering warriors on the side all smirked and drew out their swords and rushed towards Li Jexuan. For a moment, Wang Jian added himself, and Li Jexuan seemed to have nowhere to hide. Jia Xuanjun, little Tao Hong exclaimed worriedly. Fairy Jiao mode. Ding ding ding. The tinkling sound of gold and iron collisions was endless, and Li Jexuan stood coldly in place, letting Wang Jian stay still. A monster. This kid is a monster. If it weren't for the boss, the wandering samurai would almost escape by grabbing the door. Looking at the twisted steel long sword in his hand, the wandering warrior Okawa in the lead was calm, gritted his teeth and roared, This is ninjutsu, are you a ninja? So what? Isn't what? Li Jexuan stared at Da disdainfully, and in his heart, he had already set the death penalty for him. Then you dare to do something to me? Da smiled triumphantly. We do things for Lord Silverhorn, and all the money is required by Lord Silverhorn. Silverhorn. Li Jexuan was shocked. There is such a coincidence in this world. It's really effortless to break through the iron shoes and find nowhere to find it. Seeing Li Jexuan's silence, Da thought it was Li Jexuan who was scared, and waved his hand with a sneer, You better get off quickly. In this case, I might consider not reporting this matter to Lord Yinzhao. With that said, Da was going to walk towards Xiao Taohong on his own. If he doesn't kill the chickens today, he won't be able to receive any more money in the future. I don't know how to live or die. Bing done blowing snow. Li Jexuan blew lightly. An icy chill rushed towards the river like a living thing, and in just a second, the river was frozen into an ice sculpture. What are you doing? Don't you be afraid of Lord Yinzhao. Da turned his only movable head in horror, and brought out the name of Yinzhao, trying to deter Li Jexuan. However, Silverhorn. Li Jexuan curled his lips in disdain. If it weren't for the nine-tailed chakra and the endurance of the 6 immortals, this kind of thing would not be much better than fierce fighting. If there is a chance, I will definitely send Yinzhao down to see you. Li Jexuan gently kicked Dahe's left leg to pieces, and ice cubes mixed with flesh and blood spilled over the ground. My left leg. What did you do? Dahe's eyes widened in sorrow, and he was permanently disabled with just this one. What could be more painful than watching yourself die a little bit? This leg is because of the price you tried to kill Xiao Taohong. Li Jexuan sneered and slowly crushed Dahe's right leg. This leg is because you insult Xiao Taohong's career and personality. In Li Jexuan's view, even geisha should have their own dignity. They give out their bodies in exchange for money. This is a fair deal. If you are born rich, no one wants to do this kind of work. At least for Li Jexuan, they are not dirty, but Da, who the hard-earned money of a geisha, is the dirtiest existence. In this way, Li Jexuan killed Da bit by bit, and in this whole process, Da was all in his eyes, pain, despair, repentance. It is often said that people cannot die than a big scar. Sometimes death is not terrible, but it is especially terrifying to witness the powerlessness and despair of one's own death like this. Devil, this kid is a demon. The remaining wandering warriors tried to escape, but how could Li Jexuan allow these scum to escape? Bing done blowing snow. After the breath, there were more than a dozen more lifelike ice sculptures in the wine house. The human heads of the ice sculptures cried out for mercy. Please, let me go, don't dare again next time. Next time, in the next life. Li Jexuan sneered and waved to the geisha in the corner. These guys are yours, there are grudges and grievances. Ever since, the whole restaurant is crazy. The beautiful geishas cried and smashed all these ice sculptures to pieces. For the first time, they lived so relaxed and dignified. And all this was given to them by Li Jexuan. Jia Xuanjin, thank you. Nearly 100 geishas knelt down in front of Li Jexuan. Li Jexuan taught them, even geishas have their own self-esteem and persistence. No need to thank me. Li Jexuan smiled and shook his head. I also have my own selfishness. If you really want to thank me, then go to Konoha. What he will do next must not be revealed. If Li Jexuan didn't want to kill them, he could only let them go. Li Jexuan took out a large sum of silver and shook his head with a smile. Leave here and go to Konoha Hospital, where the head of the bald scoop will arrange for you. Jia Zanjun, won't you go with us? Xiao Taohong worriedly grabbed Li Jexuan's clothes. No. On the streets of the capital city of Thunder Country, 3 wandering warriors sloppily dressed swayed. The wandering warrior named Da arrogantly walked in the middle, grabbing some fruits from time to time, adjusting his breath playing to a good family woman, just like a township bully. Captain, can this really work? Hanada Masazu, who plays Kikbi Ikira, is a bit worried, and he was born into a well-knowing Hyuga family. It may not be appropriate to play this kind of bully who bullies men and women. Okay, Li Jexuan frowned. Cube Yiliang, what did you call me just now? I'm sorry, Da boss. Hyuga Yizu quickly apologized, but the wandering samurai has no captain, only the boss. Li Jexuan nodded in satisfaction, and pointed at Mei Jiao Niang who was selling papaya not far away. Go, get her over for me, my uncle admires her. Hey, my eldest brother's vision is still so vicious. Hyuga Yizu walked towards Papaya Chishi with a smile, and trivially raised the delicate chin of Papaya Chishi. Little lady, our boss said he appreciates your talent. I didn't see it, this kid Yizu looks gentle. There is such a beast in his bones, beast. Li Jexuan couldn't help but screamed, and Yamada Junzun nodded in agreement. Seeing that the Papaya Chishi was about to cry, Li Jexuan was about to wave his hand to let Yizu come back, an angry voice rang in his ears. When are you guys? Are you still messing around here? A well-dressed samurai raised his eyebrows and angrily reprimanded. Da, have all the geisha's money been collected? Li Jexuan and the others looked at each other, smiled and nodded. Master Yongjung, I've taken it up. According to the words of those wandering warriors before they died, although they were the power of the Silver Horn, they were still 1,000 miles away from the Silver Horn. Their direct commander is a samurai named Yongjung. Li Jexuan handed over the cash box. Yongjung's expression was a little better now, and he glanced at it, playing Papaya Chishi's Hyuga, and reprimanded, come with me, find something for you to do, save cause trouble every day. Naturally, Li Jexuan and others wouldn't say anything, and went straight into a huge fruit warehouse behind Yongjung. Although it seemed to be just an ordinary fruit warehouse, Li Jexuan could perceive that there were 3 waves of ninjas protecting this warehouse in the dark. How can an ordinary fruit warehouse have such a tight defense? Yongjung went straight to the center of the warehouse. There were all small hill-like fruit boxes, tightly sealed and neatly placed. These goods have been filled with several large trucks and are about to set off. You follow these cars and deliver the goods to Union Village. Yongjung stared at Li Jexuan with a serious face. Da, these goods are very important, so there must be no problems. But, where do we send it? Li Jexuan cautiously probed. You don't need to ask about that, someone will naturally answer when you get there. Yongjung waved his hand impatiently and motioned for the start. The ox cart started, and Li Jexuan and his party slowly drove towards Union Village along with the goods. The ox cart shook lightly, and Li Jexuan and the group lay together seemingly lazily. Boss Da, it seems someone is staring at us. The white eyes under the disguise of Hyuga foot transformation technique had discovered something. Idiot, we wandering warriors are worth sending ninjas to follow. Li Jexuan curled his lips disdainfully. There must be a problem with these goods. There is a problem. Are these fruits hormones? Hyuga Yizu widened his eyes in surprise. Hearing this, Li Jexuan couldn't help but stunned. Does the curse seal have the side effect of lowering IQ? But isn't Yamada needles still good? I think your head was hit with hormones. Grow your eyes. Hyuga Yizu's eyes widened, and the white-eyed perspective penetrated the wooden box straight into it. The outermost layer is ordinary fruit, but under the fruit, there is actually a compartment. The compartment was filled with stacks of talisman paper, and when he looked carefully, a burst of words made Hyuga Yizu startled in a cold sweat. Detonation talisman. Hyuga Yizu couldn't help swallowing. They actually sat on the detonation talisman of a whole car. You know, the power of a detonating talisman is equivalent to AC level fireball technique. And so many detonating symbols are stacked together. Li Jexuan couldn't help but numb his scalp. If there is no space ninjutsu, even he would not want to retreat. However, what do the silver horns do when they smuggle so many detonating charms? Hyuga couldn't understand at all, but Yamada felt thoughtful. Li Jexuan's heart is very clear. They want to rebel. Golden Horn and Silver Horn killed not only Chinsho Janjian, but also the second-generation Raikage of Union Village I. As the ox cart moved slowly, Li Jexuan's heart couldn't help but clouded over again. This incident did not seem to be as easy as Hokage said. This is not a carnival of two madmen, but a premeditated rebellion. Originally, Li Jexuan only had to save Chinshojian from the hands of the two Golden Horn and Silver Horn. But now, he might be fighting against a whole country. It's really bad. Li Jexuan couldn't help but shook his head and smiled bitterly. Although he has gained a lot from this experience, he still thinks too much if he wants to be an enemy. Unless, the blood of Indra can be awakened. However, it is almost impossible. Indra's blood, latent. Li Jexuan thought he could be a super god, but later discovered that he was thinking too much. Indra's blood did not provide him with any strength bonus. It only provides a possibility, which is equivalent to a future that points straight to the road. An ox cart strolls at the foot of the mountain near Union Village. Unlike Konoha, Union Village is built on the top of the mountains. The plank road and bridge build a city in the sky. As soon as he reached the foot of the mountain, Yunyin Zongren, who was in charge, walked out without saying much, but said with a cold face, "My name is Junying, you carry the goods and follow me." "This ninja master, Xiao Ren Da, what can I do for you?" Li Jexuan leaned forward very dogmatically. To shut up. Jen Ying didn't give Li Jexuan any face at all, and coldly scolded, "No matter how long it is, I will pull your tongue out." Li Jexuan shrugged involuntarily, and it was indeed the same thing that could mix with this Golden Horn and Silver Horn. But at this moment, a lively welcome suddenly came from the distant mountain top. "How is this going?" Hyuga Masato raised his eyebrows in doubt. At this time, the cold and cruel Gen Sakura took the initiative to speak. "Ha, the Hokage from Konoha village has arrived." Gen Sakura grinned and opened her mouth. This guy really does not live or die. At this time, he even dared to come here. Now, Li Jexuan couldn't help narrowing his eyes. Junying knew that she had made a mistake, and waved her hand. "Don't be long-winded, put these goods here, and you can go away." They were already there, and the silver letters were hanging on the top of the mansion. "Well, thank you for leading the way." Li Jexuan smiled and nodded towards Jen Ying. "Huh, what are you talking about?" Ma Sakura's eyes widened in irritation. "You actually talked to me in such a tone." Puff. A sharp ice skate pierced Gen Sakura's chest, and Li Jexuan reluctantly shook his head. "If your attitude can be better, I will let you go, maybe." Upon hearing this, Ma Sakura's eyes flashed with regret. "Lied to you." Frozen Jen Ying's corpse into ice scum, Li Jexuan smiled and shook his head. "It is more suitable for a guy like you to bring back regret and death." 10 minutes later. "Masakura, what are these guys doing here?" The three Li Jexuan pretending to be chatting finally waited for a Zhang Ren who took the initiative to question. Li Jexuan smiled and nodded. "The two of them are here to deliver the goods. I thought there was something else to come, so I let them follow." Hearing this, Zhang Ren nodded when they met. "In this case, just go to the Shuren meeting place with me. The detonation talisman seems to have not been posted yet." "Okay." Li Jexuan grinned and smiled. 5 minutes later, Li Jexuan not only figured out the name of Zhang Ren, but also roughly understood their plan. The plan is actually very simple. Using the pre-arranged detonation talisman to kill the middle and lower ninjas of the Raikage faction, the Golden Horn and the Silver Horn directly killed Raikage and Hokage. With the strength, it can be so rude and willful. In addition, Li Jexuan also heard an unexpected news. "When the time comes, let the fools from the Kingdom of Wind take the lead." Zhongren named Mo Yi grinned grinningly. Those fools from the kingdom of wind treat us as fools, so let them go to the thunder. The country of wind. The last piece of the puzzle in Li Jexuan's brain was finally connected, the real history hidden behind a few words in the history books. Because of the disappearance of the first generation and Uchiha Madara, the four powers are particularly dissatisfied with Konoha's control of the nine-tailed beasts alone. Ever since, Shikoku fought against Konoha at the same time, trying to force Konoha to surrender the tail beast. But Konoha, as the father of the other four countries, since you can't say that you just have to make it, you have to fight. It was originally a restrained war, because Shinobu killed Tsunade's parents and went away completely. Konoha and Cheyenne have a life and death battle. But Konoha, who is fighting on four fronts at the same time, cannot defeat the powerful Sand Shinobu who is second only to Konoha. Ever since, Shinshojian decided to form an alliance with the third strongest Yunren. In the form of delivering Yao, in exchange for peace and a chance to defeat Sand Shinobu. However, Sand Shinobu had already noticed this, so she bewitched the Golden Horn and Silver Horn who had long been rebellious, and the rebellion killed Reikage and Shinsho Janma. Thousands of hands died, and the first generation who had been running out of time was discouraged. The death of the second generation and the split-tail beast were the last straw that crushed Konoha. Konoha was abruptly pulled from the position of the father of the five countries to the overlord level. In Konoha's history, this is an unbearable past. However, since I'm here. Li Jexuan grinned lightly, history will definitely be rewritten. Masakura, what are you smirking? Moyi curled his lips in dissatisfaction on the side. Don't be lazy, you are responsible for the left side, and I am responsible for the right side. They are coming soon, and these detonating symbols must all be posted. Li Jexuan smiled and nodded. Okay. 10 minutes later, the detonating symbols were plastered under the table in the entire venue. Ha ha ha, Konoha's choice to form an alliance with us must be the right choice. 3 generations of Reikage's hearty laughter is very recognizable. Moyi pulled Li Jexuan aside, and the door of the meeting room opened. Shinsho Janjian and Idacheng walked in front, and went straight into the high-level meeting room in front. Dear Konoha guests, please follow me. Just as Moyi wanted to greet the remaining Zhongren Shiren, Li Jexuan took the initiative to take the lead. Come, follow me, Konoha's ninjas are all sitting on the left. The guest will be the host, naturally Li Jexuan said where, Konoha's ninja sits. The rest of Yunren sit on the right. Moyi shook his head helplessly. This Jenying is still such a chicken thief, so anxious to grab the credit. The entire meeting room was covered with detonation symbols, and these Yunren were naturally not real Yunren, they were all helping hands sent by the Kingdom of Wind. Blow up these dogs. Son Shinobu. Moyi grinned and curled his lips. I want to play Big Brother Jinzhao Yinzhao as a fool. At this moment, the Golden Horn and Silver Horn also came in. Sure enough, as in the anime, the two characters have gold and silver tattoos on their arms, and under their long hair are beast-like faces. The endurance of the 6 immortals bears on their backs. How are you doing, Moyi? Yin Zhao stared at Moyi and Li Jexuan coldly. Everything is ready. Moyi nodded excitedly, and a smile appeared on Yin Zhao's face. He smiled and waved. If this is the case, then you all come in and listen. Yes, Lord Silverhorn. Moyi closely followed Yin Zhao. This room was already full of detonation charms. Naturally, Yin Zhao wouldn't leave his people here and get bombed. Li Jexuan lowered his head and followed behind Moyi, while Hyuga Yizu and Yamada Zhenjin followed Li Jexuan honestly. Jin Zhao frowned, but couldn't say anything in the end. Although it's not appropriate to bring this kind of influential samurai into a high-level meeting, none of this is important anymore, is it? Golden Horn held the amber bottle and walked into the meeting room with a light smile. Pulling open the paper and pushing the door, the appearance of the Golden Horn and the Silver Horn caused some commotion. Golden Horn and Silver Horn. The low-ranking ninjas nodded and greeted Golden Horn and Silver Horn, while Reikage frowned. Golden Horn, why do you still carry weapons like this? Hearing this, Jin Zhao grinned and said, I am not a weapon, this is the relic of the 6 immortals. Humph. The 4th generation of Lei Ying who followed Lei Ying coldly hummed dissatisfiedly. The discord between Reikage and the Golden Horn and Silver Horn has long been on the table. Okay, let's continue to discuss the alliance issue. The second generation of Raikage can only turn this topic off and fight in front of the guests, which is too embarrassing. Hey, Jin Zhao held the gourd and sat quietly behind the Chinshoujian, while Yin Zhao held the 7-star sword and sat quietly behind the second generation Lei Ying. Li Jexuan couldn't help but pouted. This intention is too obvious, right? But embarrassingly, the second generation Raikage and Chinshojia were busy discussing alliance matters. In addition, they were in Yunren's base camp, and their vigilance was involuntarily reduced. For a while, they didn't notice the abnormality of the 2 golden horns and silver horns move. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.